this right here, man, that you play when you feeling down on your ism, right? Play this shit right here and resuscitate your pimping and get you right back on your mission, right? For you hoes, this that shit you play when you ain't feeling like super hoe today. Play this shit right here and spark up your hoeing and get you right back going, you dig? Dig this. Pimps for real, don't mistake it for fashion. The turf that birthed my reputation for mashing was the track with active, attractive hoes. Professional goers that attract the dough. Like magnets to metal, never settle. We scorching them fag bitches pedal for them portions. My whores win it all. Not the ones on the sideline wishing but didn't ball in the guidelines. My bitches did it all. Down 7 below in the snow for dough. Over 120 in the sun for fun. They mash for hours, hooker baths, not showers, brighten all but exempt. These bras not wimps, I'm like them renegade bitches. BFFs with tricks but never getting paid riches. Grenade bitches, they dynamite, blowing up on the pimpin' and missing when the time is right. But when they life gets strife, they see pimpin' shining bright, but they action is life without. Bitch, one strike you out. Can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, smashing on these bitches nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, smashing on these bitches nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, smashing on these bitches nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, smashing on these bitches nigga. See, that's the difference nigga. The pimpin' mashing for these riches nigga. Nothing like you master magician niggas. Smoking mirrors with your game, hella extras to reflect the opposite appearance of a lame. Bitches coming from y'all, I can't rock with those. Tender-footed and rooted in them doctor shows. Soft shoe rituals, minute residuals. Papers on life support, your loots and critical. Something I learned about when running my earned route and working with turnouts is murdering burnouts. Cause knocking one of you niggas for a scar bitch, that's knocking one of you niggas for some garbage. I'm heartless regardless, empty with sympathy, but banked up to the max with pimpathy. No remedy for me, I'm like this. My life is vice grip, synced in permanent ink. You can't rewrite this. My blood type is P positive, beautifully deposited with a lot of it. I'm popping this shit, and when I pop it so hard I make a trapping ass bad bitch wanna hoe hard. Can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, smashing on these bitches nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, smashing on these bitches nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, smashing on these bitches nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, smashing on these bitches nigga. Come on pimpin' man, pop that shit. Show these sucker niggas they can't stop that shit. Let these hookers know if they wanna cop that shit. Treat the bag like it's hot, bitch, and drop that shit. And to you hoes, if you ever took a loss, bitch, show these bitches how to bounce back like a boss, bitch. Let them know that the best way to floss, bitch, is reach that paper to some pimpin' hoe and toss it. Can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, smashing on these bitches nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, smashing on these bitches nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, smashing on these bitches nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga. Can't stop, won't stop, smashing on these bitches nigga. All right. Excuse my pimping for the delay, but we here. You dig? Yeah, man. Y'all already know what to do, man. Wipe your feet off at the door when you step into a pimp's domain. Hit that like button, please and thank you. Let me get a few things together. Appreciate y'all for tuning in and tapping in with a pimp. Okay. Okay. That should be good. All right. Y'all already know my first order of business. I got to hydrate my game. Put some love in my body as we prepare to go deep inside the mind of a pimp. You know, a place a lot of y'all ain't never been, man. But I'm gonna help you out though. I'm gonna take y'all on a journey into deep into the mind of a pimp. Cause a lot of y'all think you know the mindset of a pimp and how a pimp's mind operates, but you have no clue. Like that old MTV show used to, you know, they used to say at the beginning, you think you know, but you have no idea. This is the life of a pimp. Yeah, man. Yeah. We always got to give the game some straightening. We always got to bring clarity to this shit. Cheers to the game. P Wine, what's up with it, man? We live on IG and YouTube at the same damn time. Now, on my side, it looks like the Instagram is tripping, but it probably ain't. Let me just make sure before we get going. Okay, it's cool. The Instagram is cool. It just looked like that on my end, but y'all can see me. So that's all that matters. I can't see me on Instagram, but I can see me on YouTube. Y'all can see me and hear me. Everybody can see me and hear me. We good. Correct Vision, what's up with it, man? But yeah, man, yesterday we talked about how, the blended mindsets of young ladies in the game. And then the conversation took a turn, somewhere else. But, the original topic yesterday was, ladies having a blended mindset, squares having, hoish desires and endeavors and, certain characteristics of a 304, but don't want to be responsible. They want 304's rewards, but don't want to be responsible. Then we talked about the opposite, 304's, this maneuvering in the world of a 304, but really got, certain square attributes and shit like that. But, a lot of that shit stems from people in the game, guys in the game, right? And, you have a lot of guys in the game that think they some pimping, but don't have a clue what a pimp is. Think they doing some pimping, but ain't never done no pimping, right? So we just gonna cover some things, man. We gonna talk, we just gonna bounce around on the, deep within the mind of a pimp, man. So get your scuba gear ready and your snorkel and all that and your oxygen tank and whatever else you need, man, because we going deep. Like for instance, right? Some of y'all probably seen a reel that I posted earlier today where I was talking about a situation where I served the pimp for his only 304, right? That was only 304 that he had, and I knocked him and I served him, right? So when I knocked him and I served him, within that I asked him, was he straight? Did he need anything? Did he need a pimp's assistance? Right? And I was explaining how that's a lost part of pimp etiquette in today's times. You know, really shit, even the serving, the phone call, that's a lost part. Or, cats be doing dry serving. They be serving the pimping or call they self-serving the pimping, and they either didn't get any money from the bitch or didn't get a sufficient amount of money from the bitch, right? So you got a lot of that shit going on. That shit ain't got nothing to do with the game. But beyond that, right, for the cats that do call and serve the pimping when they knock the pimping, a lot of cats don't have that part of the etiquette where you make sure that the pimping is straight, right? So this one individual was commenting, and he was like, why would you give money to another pimp when you just knocked him for his 304? That's defeating the purpose. Like, if you're gonna take care of him, then you might as well just give the 304 back or just never knock her, right? And then he went on and on with that, right? So, I'm gonna give some clarity on that part of the topic, right? See, listen. Pimping, we know firsthand from experience, when you done pimp long enough, and it don't take long to figure this part out. It shouldn't take long to figure this part out, right? But when you really pimping, you come to find out sooner than later that don't nobody love a pimp but another pimp. We all we got. When we ain't got no pimping, then we just ain't got nothing, right? Now, even Sinful let y'all know, I didn't put that out there. Sinful put that out there, that I am the only person who can say that they jugged Sinful to pee. Oh, hold up. Okay. Forgot to do that, but we straight now. But yeah, Sinful let y'all know that Freeze is the only person that can say that they ever jugged Sinful to pee. And Freeze would never say that unless Sinful put it out there. The only reason why I'm saying it is because I'm repeating what he already told y'all, right? But what you got to understand about that is that Freeze is a pimp, right? So whether you got one pimp that you can rely on or you got 100 pimps that you can rely on, don't nobody love a pimp but another pimp. So that's why we look out for each other. That's why pimps jug each other, right? Because, we don't have no pension plan, or we don't have no 401k or no shit like that. Now, if you a wise pimp, you're going to make investments and things like that. But anybody who has truly pimped, you're going to go through it. If you haven't went through it to get to it, then you have not pimped. If you ain't had a tough time in the game, I'm talking about if you just straight lace pimping for real. If you ain't leaked, then you can't really say that you pimped. If you ain't never leaked, not even for a day, not even for a second, you ain't never leaked, I find it hard to believe that you ever pimped, right? Because I know some of the greatest of the great who have leaked at some point in time within their time in the game, right? So, this is what we understand. Don't nobody love a pimp but another pimp. We all we got. So because we know that, it's nothing to look out for another pimp, right? And see, like I told this cat who posed that question and was talking like that, this is the sad part about the game, right? Because you have a lot of cats like that in the game. You got a lot of cats in the game that not only will knock a pimp for his last 304, and if that pimp is leaking, just let him stay leaking and leave him for dead. But you got cats that's like partners with pimps. When the pimping is on, when everybody is checking it, they going having big drinks, buying bottles, eating lobster and shrimp, and going shopping together, buying all the designer in the world. But if that pimp partner disown right now, if he just suddenly go to leaking, you know, you're going to stop calling him. You're going to stop pulling up on him. You're going to stop campaigning with him. You're going to stop checking on him, make sure he's straight. You know, a lot of cats want to get away from the pimping when the pimping go to leaking, right? Because they don't want to have to jug the pimping in their mind. They thinking like, man, I don't want to have to, you know, jug pimping. You know, I'm trying to do this and I'm trying to do that. But the sad part about the game is you ain't got no problem jugging the Gucci store. You ain't got no problem jugging Jack in the Box. You ain't got no problem jugging Burger King and McDonald's. You ain't got no problem jugging Albertsons or Ralph's or Safeway or Kroger's or Publix for some bullshit ass fish sticks or microwave frozen food and all that type of shit, you know, highly refined carbs and overly processed bullshit ass food that's going to, you know, put the pedal to the metal and help you accelerate to your expiration date. You don't have a problem giving those people money. You don't have a problem giving the tobacco industry money. You don't have a problem giving the dispensary money for expensive ass weed and shit like that that's burning a hole in your pocket and your lungs at the same time. You ain't got a problem spending money on that type of shit. And all of those things that I just named is going to be more expensive than just, you know, whatever the pimpin' might need. He might not need all of these things at one time. He might got his room paid for, but he ain't got no gas money. Or vice versa. He might got a full tank of gas, but his room ain't paid for. He might got his room paid for and a full tank of gas, but he ain't got no money to eat. You know, he might have all those things, but he ain't got money to go campaign, like fall into a club and get in the pimp's place, which is in a 304's face. You know, he might just need a little bit of aid for something. And see, one thing that the pimp, this is another reason why pimping don't have a problem jugging a pimp that's leaking, is because we understand that a pimp might be delayed, but he ain't gonna never be denied. As long as you stay smashing and doing your job and you stay working. See, it's different if it's just like a lazy pimp. You know, he don't never want to go campaign. You know, he just ain't never been that type. You know, the type, the 304s that he do got, he might have just lucked up on and shit like that. But now I'm talking about a real active pimp. It's just in his nature to pimp. You know, he might be delayed, but he ain't going to be denied. So we don't have a problem jugging a pimp, you know, because we know this ain't going to be a forever type thing. He not going to be leaking forever. You know, it ain't going to take him long to get to his next 304, right? And then also, you know, pimping got an abundance mindset because he was like, you know, why you ain't worried about the money? That's what we do this for. That's the main thing, is the money. And it's like, when you pimp it for real, you just have an abundance mindset. You don't worry about, damn, if I spend a few dollars over here, that's gonna hurt me. I can't do that. Damn, if I spend a few dollars over here, damn, that's gonna hurt too. I can't do that. Pimping don't think like that. We smashing, we breaking on bitches every day. We sending hoes every day, you know, and therefore we don't worry about, you know, what like me. And see, we understand the game is gonna bless you. That's what we understand. It's not something that you can quantify or something that you can calculate precisely or predict precisely, but we just know the game is going to bless you. When you a blessing to your fellow pimp, the game is going to bless you. It done been times where, you know, a pimp might give his partner the last whatever he got in his pocket, whether it's 500, 200, 1,000, whatever. Here, P, you got that. And then next thing you know, the bitch calling his phone in a couple hours from after he done did that, like, Daddy, I got all this money. I ain't even counted this shit yet. I know it's a lot of money, and I don't know what to do. Where you? Tell me where you at. I need to get to you. I need to give you this money. And you go pull up on the bitch and break the bitch, and it's 6 figures worth of money or 5 figures worth of money or some shit like that. You know what I mean? The game bless motherfuckers like that. You know? I remember one time, prime example, my partner, right? He got a bitch in the strip club in Miami. I'm leaking. I'm staying with him. You know what I mean? He got his game in one hotel room. We all at the extended stay in Miami. He got his game. in one room and me and him staying in the other room, right? We got two beds in the same room, right? He taking care of me. I'm leaking. And his game working in the strip club. She meet this trick in the strip club. The trick want to take her home. So she go home with the trick, right? This some real pimp shit. So before she go home with the trick, she texting Pimping like, Daddy, I'm with this trick right now. He an old white dude. He got an envelope full of hundreds. I don't know how much money is in there, but it's the envelope stuffed with hundreds. And so he instructing the bitch on what to do. So the bitch, she gets the trick to take her to his house. He stay around the corner from the strip club, right? Like not even 5 minutes driving. So they go to the crib. The bitch, I ain't gonna explain how she did it, but she ends up getting the envelope and she has an opportunity to toss the envelope outside. So she goes to the front door of the house. Trick don't know what's going on. She hurries up, goes to the front door with the envelope. She tosses the envelope outside the crib and under the Trick's car, like by the back wheel of his car, right? So she called Pimpin', and she like, Daddy, I just threw the envelope outside the house. Whoopty whoopty whoop. So Pimpin' pull up. Well, actually, we pull up. I'm driving, so Pimpin' can hurry up, get out, and do bust the move real quick. So I pull up. We driving. He riding shotgun. Pimpin' jump out the car, run up under the car real quick. The Trick's car, grab the envelope, and we smash off, right? So we go back to the extended stay. And he dumped the money on the bed. And it's separated into stacks of 1,000. You know, so it's each separate stack is 1,000 that was inside the envelope, right? So he dumped the shit on the bed. And he count the shit up. It was like, I think it was like 10 or 11,000. I can't remember. It was like 10 or 11,000 or whatever. And he was like, go ahead and grab one, P. So I grabbed one. He let me hold 1,000. And do you know I used that 1,000 to go campaign? And I ended up within, okay, so that happened on one, I can't remember what, you know, the day or whatever, but let's just say after he gave me that $1,000, within 96 hours, I was too deep, right? And needless to say, when I got too deep, that 1,000 was like right back. You know what I mean? And then later on, not right after that, but, you know, some time after that, you know, he went leaking and I was able to help him like he helped me. That's just the game. You know what I mean? But if you got the mindset of, you know, like if this is what certain guys would have did in that situation, right? Certain dudes would have been like, you know, the bitch tossed the envelope outside under the Trick's car. Certain cats would have been like, yeah, P, let me go handle this business real quick, man. I'll be right back, man. And they would have went and did the shit by themselves, so Pimpin' can't know how much money they got. And then let's say he would have had like 10 or 11,000 and he know his partner leaking and staying with him and shit. You know, a lot of niggas would have gave Pimpin' like $100 or some shit like that. Which, you know, if that's what you want to do, that's cool. You know, I ain't never been the type to count motherfuckers' pockets. And see, that's the thing about me. This is what I got to also explain, right, in that story. You know, when Pimpin' told me to grab one of them thousands, I wasn't even tripping. I didn't even expect nothing. I'm happy for him. I'm excited just like he excited. You know what I mean? Like, shit, he just hit for 10 bands. Like, I'm happy for him. I'm not thinking like, ooh, Pimpin' got 10 bands. I know he about to break me off something. I'm not even thinking like that. Why? Because I'm a pimp and I'm accustomed to having my own, and I'm just, you know, going through a temporary spell where I'm leaking. But I know this ain't gonna last long, so I'm not tripping. And I done had my moments like that. So that's why I'm not counting his pockets, I'm not watching his pockets or nothing like that. And I'm not thinking to myself like, because I know pimps who have been like that. You know what I mean? And it's not to take away from they pimping, but we all know people like that in the game. Those of us that's really in the game for real, we all know cats like that'll come tell us like, yeah, man, I was riding with such and such, man, and man, he hit for 70,000, man. Do you know that nigga only gave me 500? What you mean he only gave you 500, nigga? He didn't have to give you shit. You know what I mean? You should be glad that he gave you 500. See, niggas be counting motherfuckers' pockets like now, if a motherfucker hit for 2,000 and gave you 500, you'll be cool with that. But you thinking because he got 70,000 that he could stand it, so he should give you more than 500. You know what I mean? Like I said, when Pimpin' dumped that money on the bed and told me to grab one of them stacks, I wasn't even expecting that. I wasn't anticipating that. I wasn't feeling entitled to that. You know what I mean? Because I know one day you, next day me. You know what I mean? Chicken one day, feathers the next. You know? So pimping don't have like a miser type of mindset or outlook on the game, man. We just look out for each other, man, because like I said, once again, we know that we all we got. You know what I mean? And we know that we the most hated creatures walking the earth right now. Ain't no human being hated more than the pimping. You know what I mean? Because ain't no race of people hated more than black people, and the pimping is black. So within black people, the pimping is the most hated motherfucker. Pimping is more hated than the grapist. Pimping is more hated than the PDF file. Pimping is more hated than everybody. And we know that. And people will try to argue that shit and refute it and all that. But man, pimping, we know because we go through it. We live it every day. So we know that we the most hated motherfuckers on walking the earth right now. Ain't nobody hated more than us. We know that. So because of that, when you truly the pimping and you truly understand that, you gonna have love for the pimping. There's certain individuals that I really don't like, but that I wouldn't say that they ain't no pimping, and then I wouldn't like let anything happen to them if I had the control to do something about it. You know, because I know they some pimping. There's some motherfuckers that I really don't care for, but I know they some pimping, and I wouldn't let nothing happen to them, and I wouldn't just leave them in a fucked up position or something if I had something to do about it. You know, that's just me. You know, it's kind of like a family thing. You know, you got uncles and aunties and cousins and shit like that you really don't care for, but you know, you ain't gonna let nothing happen to them. You know, so yeah, that's the pimping, man. You know, pimping, we look out for each other and we hold each other down, right? And because another thing too, you know, getting into the next topic, because we got love for each other, and because we know we the most hated motherfuckers on the planet and therefore can't hate each other, hey man, pimping, we not getting into it over the bitch, man. You know, and I really got to talk about this because we've always had these types of characters in the game, but I would just go as far as, like I said the other day or not too long ago, man, the majority of motherfuckers in the game, they tripping over a bitch in some kind of way, man. The majority of motherfuckers in the game right now, they can't stand to get that phone call. You know, they can't stand to get that phone call, man. You know, motherfuckers be ready to get violent. Listen, man, if you done ever threatened a pimp about a bitch, man, you need to check yourself, man. You need to check whether or not this is really for you or not, man. You know, and see, this is what a lot of cats, for you cats that be tripping over the bitch, man, let me talk to you for a minute, man. And I don't know, you know, I would say you ain't been pimping long enough, man, but it's certain cats that been in the game 20 and 30 years, man, that still right now today, after all these decades in the game, that if somebody call them about that bitch, they tripping. You know, they gon' go from pimping to cripping and blooding and pyroing and grooving and all that type of shit. They gonna go from, you know, from their P hand to their G hand real quick, you know, over the bitch, over that phone call, right? And see, This what you gotta understand, man. And I've said this before, I'm gonna say it again, man. And you really gotta truly believe this and understand this to get to a point where you're not tripping over that bitch. You know, the pimping get greater with every hoe that blow. That is so real. You know, and if you done blew a whole bunch of hoes, and you think about the pimp that you was from the first hoe that blew to the pimp that you are now at the 50th hoe that blew or the 30th hoe that blew, if you look at yourself from then to now, you'll see how much greater of a pimp you are. And that got a lot to do with it. The pimping get greater with every hoe that blow. You know? So if you understand that, man, it's like Sugar Free said, man, I rejoice when a hoe want to leave me because a bad bitch will deceive me. You know what I mean? Like, why you want a bitch to stick around you that don't want to be around you? If she out of pocket with somebody else and going to choose somebody else, then obviously your turn is over with, man. She don't want to be with you no more, man. Why you want to hold somebody around that don't want to be around your motherfucking ass? Why you want to go get violent with pimping? I know cats who done went and strong-armed the bitch back, who done went and drew down on pimping and took the bitch back, beat pimping up, you know, turned it to a MMA fighter and a UFC fighter and all that shit to go get the bitch back. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers done turned into black ops to go get the bitch back, man. Hey, man, why you want to do all that with a bitch? Like, I'm too motherfucking fly, man. If a bitch don't want me, that's her motherfucking loss, man. For real, though. Like, I ain't never tried to hold no bitch with me that didn't want to be with me, man. If a bitch show even an inkling of interest in somebody else, hey, go ahead. You know what I mean? I'm going to help her get to him. For real. You know, that ain't even fly. That's not manly. That's not fly. That's not pimpish. That's not nothing to try to, you know, try to keep a bitch with you that don't want to be with you, man. And that's what you doing when you tripping over that phone call. You know, when you want to get gangster with the pimping and all that type of shit, man. You know, but like I said, man, the pimping get greater with every hoe that blow, man. That's the realest shit. I think about the pimp that I was from them early days, man, of blowing a hoe and up until, you know, the recent days of blowing a hoe, man. Man, it's like night and day. The freeze back then versus the freeze right now, boy, that shit is night and day. I mean, that freeze always been a cold motherfucker, man. That freeze back in the day, man, that blew that first bitch, man, he was a cold motherfucker too. You know what I mean? But it was like greatness in the making, you know. The freeze now, way colder. You know? As we say, you got to go through it to get to it, man. You got to go through all aspects of the game, and that's one aspect of the game that's going to make you greater. You know? For real. Like I've said before, I've given this analogy before, and I'll give it again. You know, if you talk to a bitch that was with, like, if you talk to that first bitch that I blew, right? She's going to give you a different account of who Freeze is versus that fifth bitch that I blew. The fifth bitch is going to give you a different account of Freeze than the 17th bitch. The 17th bitch is going to give you a totally different account of Freeze than the 24th bitch, and so on and so forth. You know, the first bitch that blew, she remembers a Freeze that ate McDonald's. She remembers a Freeze that ate pork chops. She remembers a Freeze that ate cheeseburgers and Carl's Jr. and all that type of shit, you know. But the 33rd bitch, she don't know that Freeze. The Freeze she know, she ain't ever seen him even think about or anything with the pig. The 33rd bitch don't know that Freeze. She know a Freeze that don't fuck with pork. She know a Freeze that don't eat fried food, that don't drink alcohol, that don't smoke. She know a totally different Freeze. You know, if you talk to that fifth bitch that blew, she might remember a Freeze that kind of like let herself go, had a gut and was getting kind of sloppy, you know what I mean? Wasn't working out, wasn't doing none of that shit, was eating crazy, drinking alcohol and all that type of shit, drinking Hennessy or Ciroc or, you know, any of that type of shit, or Don Julio. You know, she might remember that Freeze. You know, but if you talk to the 28th bitch, You know, she know the freeze is going to LA Fitness every day. She know the freeze is going to 24-hour fitness every day. You know, she know that highly self-disciplined freeze. You know, she know that freeze that don't just get angry for the slightest reason. You know what I mean? Because that seventh bitch, she was around the freeze that was drinking alcohol. So, you know, that freeze was a lot more quick tempered. You know what I mean? But, you know, the 20th bitch, she know a different freeze. And so on and so on and so forth, right? And see, this is another thing, too, as we go deep inside the mind of a pimp that you got to understand, too, about this game, right? Not only does the pimping get greater with every hoe that blows, but, hey, man, turnouts make your pimping so much better. Shout out to all the turnouts that I done had, and I done had quite a few of them, man. You know, shout out to all the hoes I done had that, you know, didn't do no snitch shit or no setup shit or no punk shit, right? You ain't never did no shit like that, man. Even if you might have been a punk, market ass, maggot ass bitch, you know, as long as you ain't do no police shit or no harmful shit to a pimp, man, shout out to you, right? But listen, man, the turnouts though, the turnouts just, you know, they just make your pimping so much better, man. Especially when you got a young, fresh turnout, like she might be fresh out of high school or something, or she might, you know, be 19, 20 years old or something. I'm talking about them young, fresh to the game turnouts, man. You know, at least for me, they made me greater. I don't know about anybody else who done had turnouts, man, but me, turnouts have made me greater, like exponentially greater, right? Just give you an example, right? And I don't really vocalize this a lot. A lot of times when people ask me about when I stopped drinking, I usually will say that it was because I was turning 30 years old, because I stopped drinking on my 30th birthday. And I wanted to come into my 30s on a better note, a healthier note and shit like that, right? But also what factored into that I don't really say much, but definitely played a major role in it, is because at the time I had a beautiful turnout and I didn't want her to know me like that. I didn't want her to know me as somebody that gets drunk off alcohol. I wanted her to know me on a better note, right? Now, I had the bitch for like a year before I stopped drinking, right? But I did something different with her that I hadn't done with no other hoes that I had before her, right? Even turnouts that I had before her, I never did this, right? But this particular hoe, I drank for like a year while I had her before I quit drinking. But I never let her see me drink, and I never let her see me under the influence of alcohol. Like I never let her see me get drunk. I never let her see me drunk, and I never let her see me actually drink. Like the bitch she never seen me do this with alcohol, and she never seen me faded. Never. You know what I mean? Because, see, people might think it's strange, especially certain squares, you know, that 304s call their folks daddy and shit like that. But that's really what the pimping is. The pimping is so many things, and within those so many things that the pimping is to a 304, one of those things is a father figure, right? And on the same token, I would never let my kids, if I did drink, I would never let my kids see me drink. I wouldn't want my kids to see me under the influence of alcohol, right? Because I wouldn't want to set a bad example to them, right? And this turnout that I'm talking about at this time, she didn't drink. She didn't smoke. She didn't do none of that, right? So I didn't want to let her see me like that and make her think that was okay, right? And do you know, man, that shit made my pimping so much better, like, because the fact that I didn't let her see me drink, I drank a lot less. Because when you got 304s that you're going to drink in front of, you're going to drink more. And then if you got 304s that also drink, you're going to drink that much more. But when you a pimp and you trying to set the best example to your turnout, and this turnout doesn't drink, then, you know, by you not drinking in front of her, that's going to minimize your alcohol consumption, right? And then, like I said, when I was turning 30 years old, I just said to myself, you know what, I'm going to stop drinking. And that's what I did. And once I quit drinking altogether, my mind was sharper. My mind was clearer. I thought faster. I pimped way harder and faster and smoother, and, you know, with a lot more finesse. My pimping just got way greater after that. Like, once I put the alcohol completely down, man, my pimping got way better. You know what I mean? I wasn't, you know, doing all that to the bitch so much, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't as quick tempered without the alcohol. So I'm not getting as easily upset. So I'm thinking of other ways, other consequences to get my point across than physically with my hands. You know, I'm using this to get my point across and this to get my point across, as opposed to this to get my point across so much. You know what I mean? Now, it's a time and place for everything. So I ain't going to make it seem like I just stopped using this to get my point across, but I use this and this a whole lot more. Right? And on the same token, I use this and this a whole lot more to guide a 304, to lace a 304, right? To make a 304 better. And then by me making myself better, that made me want to, like, invest in my 304s that much more to make them better, right? So this is just an example of how, you know, like, turnouts in particular will make your pimping better, right? Because it's a different level of responsibility. See, it's different if you knock a chick that come from some other pimping, right? You still got a responsibility to her, but when you introduce somebody to the game and everything that they know that they're learning is based on what you giving them, what you feeding them, that's a big responsibility. And you don't want to turn a bitch into a punk in the game. You want to turn a bitch into a champion in the game. So because of that, you're not going to be setting a bad example, man. Just give you an idea, right? And I've told this story before too. Actually, I got a couple stories on this, right? The first story, I've shared both of these stories with y'all before. I'll share it again, right? I remember I'm on OBT and I got a turnout down on OBT, and I got a partner of mine, he down with me on OBT. He got a fresh turnout too. My turnout is a white bitch, his turnout is a white bitch, right? So we down, and my people's, she called me and she say, Daddy, I just wanted to let you know I'm at 1,700 right now. And, you know, I'm about to lead a trap where where you have me usually leave it at, right? I'm like, okay, cool. I said, you know, you could take it in right now if you want to. And she was like, nah, you know, why would I take it in now? I'm already at 1,700. I might as well stay down until I get the 2 bands. I said, that's right, bitch. You know, okay, cool. Go ahead, stay down, make it happen then. You know what I mean? I gave her little words of encouragement, and I got off the phone with the bitch, right? But Pimpin' was right there next to me, so he heard the whole conversation, right? So right after that, he called this bitch. He like, yeah, what you got? And she like, oh, I'm at like 600 right now. And they had been down for about the same amount of time, right? And he start cussing the bitch out. Bitch, you only got 600? Woody, 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 woody. And see, this is what a lot of pimps don't say, and a lot of pimps ain't gonna tell you. Now, at that particular time, I was having an excellent run with that bitch. You know what I mean? Like, the particular turnout that I'm talking about that I had down on OBT at that time, I had like a 60-day period where her worst day, 60 days straight, her worst day was like 900 and some change, like 925, 950 or something. That was her worst day. Every other day was over a band. Some days she might check 25. Some days she might check 11. Some days she might check 31. Some days she might check 19. But Her worst day out of them 60 days, only one day she checked less than a band. It was like 900 or something, right? So, but what people ain't gonna tell you is that, right before that run, it might have been tight. Like matter of fact, it wasn't like terrible, but right before we got to Orlando and started that run, we was in Miami. And Miami was cool, but I wasn't checking it like that in Miami. I was having like, $500 and $600 days, some days twos and fews and shit like that. You know what I mean? But my point is everybody had a turn, man. And he did one of the worst things that you could do, right? He like, bitch, you only got $600. Woo, 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 woo. My partner bitch over here, she already at 1,700, bitch. And what's the difference between you and her? Woo, woo, woo. It's the worst thing you could do. Man, listen, and this is somebody at the time, he had been in the game for years. I think he'd been in the game longer than me at that time, right? And, for the pimping who don't know no better, just let me tell you something, man. Don't ever compare your 304 to your partner's 304 or to any other 304, whether it's her wifey. Don't compare that bitch to nobody because you thinking it's going to encourage her, right? You're thinking this is how a pimp is thinking, right? Pimping is thinking like, if I tell this bitch she only at 600 right now, if I tell her that my partner's bitch is at 1,700, it's going to get her fired up. She going to think, well, shit, that bitch ain't better than me. If she can do it, I know I could do it too. And it's going to make the bitch either match that performance or outdo that performance, right? This is how, when pimping says something like that to the bitch, this is how you think she going to respond, right? But she's not even going to be able to get to that thought because she's going to be stuck at this other bitch and you comparing her to this other bitch like, oh, you think I'm less than that bitch? You think that bitch better than me? Like, why would you compare me to another bitch? This is how the bitch is always going to think. You're never going to get the desired effect by doing that. So therefore, never do it. I don't give a damn if it's the most confident bitch in the world, highest self-esteem. Don't never do that. It's always a mistake. Don't never compare a bitch to the next bitch unless you just don't like that bitch and you really just trying to hurt her feelings and make her blow or something like that. You think she's just a weak ass bitch and you don't care for the bitch. That's different. But if you like this bitch or if you want to maintain this bitch, you got any type of concern for her or love for her, don't never compare that bitch to another bitch. It's always going to turn out bad for you, right? So that was one mistake that he made, right? Another major mistake that he made is, again, like I said, me, when I have a turnout, I'm on my best behavior. Not only is the bitch not finna see me drinking or doing none of that shit, the bitch ain't gonna see me being messy. She not gonna see me just leaving dirty clothes laying around. She not gonna see me, accumulating a sink full of dirty dishes. She not gonna see me with an overflowing trash can. She not just finna see me unpimpish in no type of way, right? Now, at times, some of those things she might take care of. She might take care of the dishes. She might take care of the trash. She might take care of the laundry and shit like that. Well, not me, because I like doing my own laundry, but that's a whole nother conversation. I just like doing my own laundry, right? But the bitch, like I've said before, the bitch might be on automatic for a week or something like that. When she come back from being on automatic for a week, she not going to come back to a filthy ass crib because she wasn't there to take care of the shit she normally take care of. No, I'm a clean pimp. So if I'm by myself, I'm going to wash dishes. I'm going to take out the trash. I'm going to do all that shit. You know what I mean? But, so I say all that to say a pimp going to be on his best behavior in front of a bitch, especially a turnout, right? But this guy who went off on the bitch for only making 600, which by the way, 600, that's decent. You know what I mean? Because see, this is how a pimp think, right? A pimp is thinking like, I need to make more than I spend every day. And yeah, you're gonna have your days where you spend more than 600, but daily expenses on some daily expenses type shit, your daily expenses shouldn't be no more than 600. You know what I mean? I'm talking about like gas money, food, even if you smoke weed or drink or, you go fall into the strip club and all of that shit accumulated shouldn't be no more than 600 every day. If your daily expenses is like on your, miscellaneous daily expenses, I ain't talking about bills and shit. I'm just talking about your daily expenses. If your daily expenses is more than $600 every day, you tripping. You you gotta check yourself. But anyway, 600, that's better than zero. Shit, you could, and if you smart with it, you could do something with it. If she consistently checking that, and you pimping accordingly, you gonna encourage the bitch and keep lacing the bitch. She gonna get better and better. But anyway, he had introduced the bitch to cocaine. See, and he not thinking about that. I ain't introduced my bitch to no powder or no, mind altering substances, period. I ain't introduced her to nothing but some game. He introduced her to powder, right? Powder is like that's one of the most terrible things you can introduce a 304 to. Because that shit is going to become like candy to him. It's going to be like Starburst and Skittles to a bitch. She going to always want powder after that. That was the dumbest shit he could have did. But he was a powder head. And he introduced her to that shit. He started doing it with her. And then, needless to say, whenever she come across a trick that got powder, she going to do it with the trick. What make you think that she only going to do powder with your dumb ass? What make you think that if a trick present a bump to her, she ain't going to hit it? What make you think that? You're stupid. You know what I mean? So he was having that problem. Constantly catching her, doing lines with tricks. Right? So, I'm giving you the difference between somebody that's just in the game, that say they a pimp, and deep inside the mind of somebody who's actually doing some pimping. Right? When you actually doing some pimping, man, you want to be on your best behavior in front of this 304. Like I said before, man, you want to be godlike in front of this 304 every chance you get. You want to be godlike. God ain't finna be a slave to no powder. God ain't finna be a slave to no alcohol. God ain't finna be going through nobody's drive-through getting fast food and shit like that. God ain't finna do that. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna never hear God fart. You ain't gonna never hear God piss. You ain't gonna never see God slobbering or drooling. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna never see God off key. So you want to be godlike in front of this 304 at all times, man. So listen, man, I cannot believe that it's 244 of y'all up in here on YouTube, man, but only 146 of y'all done wiped your feet off at the door, man. Come on, man, this should be at least at 200 by now. It really should be at 244, like the viewers and the viewers and the likes should be the same thing, man. But listen, man, at least put a pimp at 200. We at 147 now. I know it's more than 53 of y'all in here right now that ain't wiped your feet off at the door, man. But I know y'all, come on, man. Let's get these lights together, man. See, another thing about some pimping, right? The pimping is going to be the master of himself, right? And, I can't lie. For some of y'all, this is going to be a challenge. Some of y'all, it's going to take some work. But, you just got to get deep off into the spirit of pimping, man. But, pimping ain't going to always be trying to, giving in to the bitch physically and intimately, right? Now it's a time and place for everything. So yeah, you're going to have fun with your ladies, man. And whoever tell you that they don't have fun with they ladies, man, they a motherfucking lie. They trying to send you off, man. They trying to help you blow that broad, man, so they can have them for themselves. But, you got to be able to show some restraint when it comes to that, right? You can't just be giving in to the broad every time she want to go there, And I'm telling you this because I've made that mistake, of having too much fun with the broad all the damn time. You know? Now, everybody is different, right? I remember one of my veteran partners, Golden A. Ree, man, up out that Dallas, Texas, man. Man, I wish I knew what was going on with Golden A. Ree right now. But shout out to Golden A. Ree, right? But Golden A. Ree was like a mad scientist with the pimping. He was so surgically like precise with everything with his pimping. He was just man, Golden A. Ree was just such a damn pimp, man. Like he was so in tune with the spirit of pimping. He was just like, it's like he had a glow with him. Like when he come around, you could just like, if you stand too close to him, you're gonna feel the spirit of pimping just emanating off his body. Like Golden A. Ree was a pimp's pimp, right? But he knew himself so well. I remember he used to joke with me and he used to tell me, man, he was like, yeah, man, you know, I can't have no red bones, man. I can't have no red bone 304s, man, because I'm gonna be, you know, I ain't my mind gonna be on the wrong shit. You know what I mean? You know, red bones was his kryptonite. I mean, Superman was a bad motherfucker, but even Superman had kryptonite, right? And that's how Golden A. Ree was, man. Golden A. Ree, he was like a Superman type of pimp, but he knew what his kryptonite was, and that was red bones. He, you know, red bones was his kryptonite, man. So he stayed away from them bitches, man. You know, and he was so serious about that. He would not accept a red bone. He'd accept anything else. You know what I mean? Chocolate, Latina, Asian, white. But he is not fucking with no red bone. Golden A. Ree is not fucking with no red bone, man. You know, and because he knew that about himself and he adhered to that, it made his pimping way more successful. Made his pimping way more successful, right? So that's just an example of a measure that you can take to make sure that you pimp accordingly, right? You know, because Golden A. Ree, he already knew that if he accepted a red bone into his household, man, he gonna be having too much fun. He gonna be focused on the wrong thing, man. You know, so he wasn't taking no red bone, man. And as a result, he pimped like no other, man. A. Ree was a bad motherfucker, right? And had a whole bunch of game, man. Whole bunch of game. You dig? So yeah, man, shout out to A. Ree for that, man. You know, that man was cold with it. Make sure you hydrate your game too, man. You know, I stay putting love in my body, man, but make sure you keep your game hydrated as well, man. You know, we approaching the hotter time of the year, man, in a lot of places. You know, now down here where I'm at in this beautiful Colombia, man, you know, it's like as they call Medellin, the city of eternal spring, because it's like springtime eternally there. It's always springtime weather in Medellin. Whether it's raining, whether the sun is shining, whether it's overcast, it's always like on average in the 70s, right? And even though I'm not in Medellin right now, I'm in a little small town about 6 hours away from Medellin. The weather here is almost identical to Medellin, so I'm like in the little small town of Eternal Spring. Medellin is the big city of Eternal Spring. I'm in the small town of Eternal Spring. But I know some of y'all, man, especially if you're in that Arizona, it's about to start getting hot. You know what I mean? If you're in that Texas, that Florida, that Louisiana, it's about to start getting hot. So make sure you stay hydrated, man. For real, for real. Let me shout out some of these supers real quick before we continue. Ray Gunn, good looking with the $5 holla. Was just chopping it up with Gemini the P. He explained how I can get 10 deep in a month Should I take his advice? Salute to the chat, freeze. Hey, man, I don't know, man. See, and speaking of Gemini, right, I'm going to just say this real quick. Yesterday, for those of y'all who wasn't in here yesterday, man, I was asking Gemini some questions about the game and different individuals who are actually in the game and people who proclaim to be in the game, right? But I was just having a conversation with Gemini last night, right? For those of y'all who don't know, Gemini is like a competitor of Chat GPT. It's an AI thing that you ask questions for information and shit like that, right? And, people commented on the video and was like, man, Freeze, don't be chopping it up with Gemini like that, man. You giving up too much game to the AI, man. The AI is soaking up all that game, whoopty whoop. See, this you got to understand, right? If I never made another video on YouTube, AI is going to have information from me. AI is going to have information from Sinful to P and every other person who ever had anything to do with the game that has recordings, whether they're audio recordings, video recordings, or both. Anything that's on the internet, the AI is feeding off of it. Every little comment that you make, because that's what I told one individual. They was like, man, Freeze, you giving up all this game to the AI. And I said, what's the difference between what I just did and your comment in terms of feeding the machine? Because it's all feeding the machine. Every comment that you make is feeding the machine. Every piece of content that you do, every video that you put on the internet, every live stream that you do, every reel or short that you do, all of this shit is feeding the machine, right? So that's why I don't worry about this shit. And I know that the machine ain't gonna never be greater than the creator, or the orator of this game, which is, somebody like myself, the pimping, right? So I don't worry about that shit. I don't have a fear of AI. I know AI will never, no matter how good that shit get, AI will never be able to do what I do. You got to be a human being, first of all, to do what I do. And most human beings can't even do what the fuck I do. So wouldn't the fuck a two-dimensional, contraption like AI, no. AI ain't gonna never be able to compete with this pimping. So I don't worry about that shit. Elevation Movement, good looking with the $5 holler. Appreciate you. It's Don, good looking with the $2 holler. I'm trying to quit drinking now. Any advice? Yeah, hold on. I'll get to you in just a second. E-books, good looking with the $5 holler. Does this apply to squares as well? Because my kryptonite is Midwest bust. Oh, e-books, man. My kryptonite is Midwest bust downs that twerk in the Walmart checkout alley and only want a Red Lobster date. You say that's your kryptonite, but hey, see, you ain't trying to pimp e-books, so it's cool. You know what I mean? Like, you say that's your kryptonite, I just say that's your fun. That's your guilty pleasure, man. See, it's a difference between a kryptonite and a guilty pleasure. See, if you pimping and your kryptonite is red bones, that mean the red bone is gonna hinder your pimping. It's gonna slow your pimping down. It's gonna, it's gonna slow your pimping down one way or another. But see, you're not trying to pimp. You're just trying to have fun. You know what I mean? So that's just your guilty pleasure. That's something different. Car King, good looking with the $5 holler. What's good, Freeze? Did you see Hulu put out a documentary on Nature Boy? Yeah, I saw the little trailer for it. I haven't watched it though, because I don't have Hulu or none of that shit. But yeah, I did see that they put out a documentary. And that's another reason why, another thing, like even if I did have Hulu, I probably wouldn't watch that shit. That's just like I had Netflix. I don't have Netflix anymore, but I had it when the Puffy documentary came out. I don't like watching that type of shit because, or even the Michael Jackson shit they had put out when that shit came out years ago. I don't like watching them type of documentaries because it tries to turn certain black men into monsters that ain't really monsters. So now Nature Boy was a weirdo. He is a weirdo. But do I think he's a monster or anything like that? No. He's a weirdo, and he had the power. He had a very strong power of influence, and he just misused his power of influence. And if you fell victim to him using his power of influence on you, then hey, that's shame on you, motherfucker. You know what I mean? But like, do I believe he deserves to be in prison for all this time that they gave him and shit? No. Nature Boy, as far as I know, he ain't unalive nobody. He ain't maimed nobody. He hurt some people's pockets, that's for sure. He probably hurt some people's booty holes, that's for sure. They probably hurt his booty hole too, you know what I mean? but do I think he deserved to be in the joint for decades and shit? Nah, man. But at the same time, he was saying dumbass shit in court. He just, he just wasn't wise. So, but yeah, best of blessings to Nature Boy with his weird ass. E-books, good looking with the $5 holler. I don't know about Gemini, but Claude said Whack 100 had more Mac potential than Sharp and Pimp and Ken. Damn. I don't know, but Adam seems to have biggest puppet master there. Yeah, Adam is the puppet master. I did a video about that shit probably about a year ago or something like that. But yeah, man, far as Whack 100 having more Mac potential than Sharp, that's comedy. Claude must be quite the comedian, you know what I mean? Yeah, Claude is quite the comedian for that. Eat books, good looking with the $5 holler. It ain't just Netflix. I don't mess with Umar Johnson, but there's a whole sector led by Lennon Honor, obsessed with him. Yeah, I don't even know about all that, man. People like kicking people when they down, or just I don't know. I just ain't into them documentaries, man, that try to make the black man look bad, because what people don't realize is when you support all that shit, like, you got a lot of niggas and black men that support them type of document. You support the Puffy documentary. Now you're going to support the Nature Boy documentary. You supported the R. Kelly docu bullshit, you know what I mean? And all the other ones, right? But what you don't understand is, like, whenever you support that shit, you're strengthening the possibility of the same thing happening to you, right? Because if you pay attention, they not putting a bunch of these type of documentaries out about other people who 9 times out of 10 are worse. For every Nature Boy that there is out there, there's a Jim Jones or somebody of that effect who's out there that you probably don't know about, that's doing, way worse, because Nature Boy don't even compare to a Jim Jones. And I'm not talking about Jim Jones the rapper. I'm talking about Jim Jones the cult leader, the original Jim Jones. Don't nobody, Nature Boy don't hold a candle to Jim Jones. He ain't did nearly what Jim Jones did, right? And the same thing goes for Puffy, R. Kelly, and everybody else, Bill Cosby, all the rest of them, man. For every one of them that there is a non-black man that's doing something 1,000 times worse. You know what I mean? And whatever they accusing these black men of, it originates from somebody who wasn't black. Black men didn't start this shit, didn't create this shit, and a lot of times are falsely accused of this shit, and don't even compare to somebody that's non-black that they know is doing this shit but ain't going after them because they ain't black. Right? So, yeah, man. Forget all that shit. But back to It's Don. You say, I'm trying to quit drinking. Now, any advice? Well, one thing I advise you to do is to check out my video on my personal constitution. Just look up Freeze's personal constitution, and you'll find a video of me breaking that down, right? But one of the principles on my personal constitution is to say no to senseless things by saying yes to productive and progressive things, right? So basically, in order to say no to alcohol, you got to figure out something bigger and better to say yes to, right? And when you find something bigger and better to say yes to, it's going to make it a whole lot easier to say no to this alcohol, right? And for me, like I said, one thing that I wanted to say yes to that was bigger to me than the alcohol was to be a good example to this young lady that was following my lead, right? I wanted to be the best example. I wanted to be the best version of myself to her that I could possibly be, right? And then other students that I had, around that time and moving forward. I wanted to be the best example of a man and a gentleman in the game that I could possibly be to any lady who decided to choose me, right? To me, that was bigger than the alcohol. So for me saying yes to that, I simultaneously had to say no to the alcohol, right? And then also, like I said, I was turning 30 years old, and I wanted to go into my 30s on a better note. It sounds simple, but just the thought of saying, I haven't drank since my 20s. The thought of me being able to say that, was appealing to me. So coming into my 30s on a better note, and within that's me getting into a deeper love affair with myself, right? And then also, it was more than just the alcohol, but it was just me, being a better physical version of myself. Because, like I say all the time, I had 10 uncles growing up, and most of my uncles started having health problems in their 30s, right? So I didn't want to be like that. And this is my bloodline. So I know that if I carry on the same habits that they carried on into their 30s, it's a high likelihood that I'll have the same health issues that they had going into their 30s, becoming morbidly obese, developing diabetes and hypertension and gout and all these different health issues and shit like that. I didn't want to be like that, right? So that scared me. And one of the things that a lot of them did was drink alcohol. A lot of them ate bad. Most of them ate bad. But on top of eating bad, a lot of them drank alcohol. So I didn't want to do either one. I didn't want to eat bad, and I didn't want to drink alcohol. So I just had a vision of myself. And that vision of myself, of who I wanted to be and how I wanted to be, I just kept feeding that vision and intensifying that vision and making that vision more and more vivid to myself, to the point where it just kept squeezing the alcohol further and further out of the equation, right? I'm just telling you what I did, right? And hopefully this is helpful to you. But the better version of myself that I saw for myself, alcohol didn't fit into that equation. Alcohol didn't have it wasn't no room for alcohol in the vision that I had of myself. Like right now, who I am right now, alcohol don't fit into the equation. That shit is poison. My body is beautiful, right? And see, that's what you got to understand too, right? Especially when you're young. I don't know how old you are, It's Don, but when you're young, it's very easy to take your body for granted. But you know, like I said, what scared me was seeing my uncles and what they went through. I didn't want to have them type of issues, man. And then especially later on in life, you know, one of my uncles died from a heart attack. Another one of my uncles died from heart failure. Another one of my uncles died from cancer. Well, actually, two of my uncles died from cancer. You know, just the list goes on, man. And, you know, a lot of those things had to do with choices that they made with their body. And if they had made different choices and better choices with their bodies, a lot of them would still be here right now. Out of 10 uncles, I only got 2 left. A lot of them would still be here if they made better choices with their bodies. And if they appreciated their bodies for what they, like, if they understood, okay, this is the only body I got. I can't be putting garbage in this motherfucker. I got to appreciate this shit, man. I can't be putting this, my body ain't no trash can, you know? So that's how you got to look at it too, man. You know, every time you're putting alcohol in your mouth and down your throat, you're putting garbage into your body. You know what I mean? Like, you ever think about how you put trash into a trash can? You know? How if you eat an apple, the core of that apple is trash and you throw that into the trash can, and then the banana peel, you know, after you eat a banana, you throw the peel into the trash can. When you eat some steak or you know, chicken or whatever, and there's some bones left, you throw the bones into the trash can. You know, if you clean a table with a paper towel, you throw that paper towel with the residue. The residue might have food particles on it and shit. Like, you throw that shit to the trash can, man. You know, when you sweep up off the floor, you know, you the dirt and the dust and all that shit that was on the floor, you throw that into the trash can. Now imagine all that shit that I just said, right? Imagine if you just put that shit in your body, how your health is going to be. Your health is going to be like that garbage can, trash. So on the same token, you know, most of us don't think of it like that because alcohol is just so heavily promoted within our culture. You know, people that we know and love have alcohol brands, man. You know, E40 has an alcohol brand this highly successful. The Rock has an alcohol brand that's highly successful, right? And these are people that we know and love, right? But you know, it's that type of stuff that makes us think that alcohol is acceptable. That alcohol is just okay to put in your body. But ultimately that shit is garbage. You're putting garbage into your body. Every time you put garbage into your body, you're making a withdrawal from your health. You know, just like how you make a withdrawal from the ATM, from your bank account, you're making a withdrawal from your health every time you put alcohol into your body. That shit is straight garbage. I don't give a fuck how high quality that shit is. I don't give a fuck how good it tastes, how it make you feel. Man, that shit is garbage. You putting garbage in your body. Trash. That's what that shit is. So, you know, just think of it like that. Every time you put alcohol in your body, you might as well go into the garbage can, grab a handful of that shit and put that, whatever it is. It could be dog shit. It could be dirt. It could be whatever, anything off the floor. You know, it could be just anything out the trash can. Just get a handful of that shit and put it in your mouth. It's the same thing. Actually, the shit out the trash can might not even hurt you as bad as the alcohol. For real. You know, that shit that if you grab a handful of trash out the trash can and put it in your mouth, man, that shit might be better for you than alcohol. For real. You know what I mean? Alcohol is straight garbage, man. Like, you know, like I said, now that I have a better understanding of what that shit is and what it does to your body, ain't nothing good about that shit, man. You know, so, and then you got to think of it like, you know, it's either you or the alcohol. You know, you got to be the master of yourself. Are you going to be the master of yourself, or are you going to let alcohol be your master? Are you going to be a slave to the alcohol? Because that's what you is. Every time you drinking that shit, you're serving it. It's not serving you. Because see, like I said, I've told y'all before, you know, On my birthday this year, it'll be 15 years since I stopped drinking. And since I stopped drinking like on a regular basis, in the past 15 years, I've drank about 15 times. And that hasn't been every year. Like once, it's not like I drink once a year, but I've drank about 15 times in the past 15 years, right? And I thought I was doing something, you know, good by maintaining control of myself and not allowing the alcohol to get the best of me. Because I haven't allowed it to get the best of me. Like I haven't been drunk in over 15 years. I've been buzzed because, so the 15 times that I've drank, you know, about 14 of those times was the same thing. Moet, Rosé, Nectar Imperial, right? The pink bottle. I drink 2 champagne flutes of that and I'm good. I don't drink no more. And I thought I was really doing something by doing that, right? Because I'm maintaining control of it. I'm not allowing it to get the best of me. I'm not getting drunk. I might get a little buzz and I'm cool. You know, I thought I was doing something with that, man. But, you know, when you really start to understand what alcohol does to your body and how toxic it is to your body, you know, another thing that'll help encourage you when it comes to quitting alcohol is understanding that, you know, every time you drink alcohol, you're increasing your chances of ending up with Alzheimer's or dementia, you know, at some point in your life. And let me tell you, that shit is fucked up. To end up with dementia or Alzheimer's or any form of dementia, you don't want that. If there's anything you can do about it, you're going to do it. And when you're drinking alcohol, you're heightening your chances of having dementia later in life, right? And, you know, the world is so fucked up right now. People are starting to have dementia earlier and earlier in their lives. You know, it used to be a thing where people were a lot older getting dementia, but people is getting younger and younger. It ain't like very young. It ain't like people in their 30s is getting dementia, but, you know, people are getting younger and younger having dementia, right? And, you know, I don't know all the reasons why. I don't know all the research on it and shit like that, but my guess is that people are getting dementia younger and younger because people are more excessive than they've ever been with everything. You know, people are excessive with the alcohol like never before. People are excessive with drugs like never before. People are excessive with bad food like never before. That's why you see young people. You see young people with diabetes. You see young people with high blood pressure. That used to never be. That was like something that older people got, at least people in their 40s and up. You seeing people in their 20s with diabetes type 2. That's crazy. Right? So on that same token, you know, not in their 20s, but you're seeing younger and younger people with dementia. Right? So, you know, it's a lot of things that you can do to lower your chances of getting dementia. One of them is making sure that you get, you know, at least myself, I would say get at least 8,000 steps in. You know, it's been proven that people who get an average of, I think it's either 7,500 or 8,000 steps, but I just say 8,000 to be on the safe side. People who get an average of those steps, that amount of steps or more every day, have a lesser chance of dementia. Let's look that shit up. Since we like asking Gemini shit, let's ask Gemini. How does walking affect the possibility of ending up with dementia later in life? And how much should a person walk to ensure that they don't end up with dementia?
Walking is widely considered one of the most effective lifestyle interventions for reducing the risk of dementia. While no activity can ensure 100% prevention, as genetics and environmental factors also play a role, recent research has provided specific targets for how walking physically protects the brain. How walking protects the brain. Walking doesn't just improve cardiovascular health, it directly impacts brain biology. Reduced protein buildup. Recent 2025 and 2026 studies show that regular walking slows the accumulation of tau proteins and amyloid beta in the brain, which are the primary hallmarks of Alzheimer's disease. Brain volume. Aerobic activity like walking has been linked to larger brain volume and less brain shrinkage in older adults, particularly in the hippocampus, the area responsible for memory. Improved circulation. By keeping blood vessels healthy, walking prevents small vessel disease in the brain, reducing the risk of vascular dementia. Walking targets. How much is enough? Recent data suggests there is a sweet spot for cognitive protection. You don't necessarily need to hit the common 10,000 step goal to see significant benefits. Step count. Impact on dementia risk. 3,800 steps per day, associated with a 25% reduction in risk. 5,000 to 7,500 steps per day, shown to delay cognitive decline by up to 7 years. This range is currently considered the optimal plateau for many older adults. 9,800 steps per day, associated with a 50% reduction in risk. Does pace matter? Yes, intensity is a major factor. The brisk rule, walking at a faster pace, roughly 100 steps per minute or walking like you're late for a meeting, provides benefits above and beyond the total step count. Consistency. Breaking your movement into 20 to 25-minute brisk walks daily is enough to meet the moderate activity thresholds recommended by health organizations like the NHS and AARP. Summary of recommendations. To maximize your brain health, health experts currently suggest 1. Aim for at least 5,000 steps daily. This is where the most significant bang for your buck begins in terms of slowing neurodegeneration. 2. Pick up the pace. Incorporate at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity, brisk, walking per week. 3. Start early. While benefits are seen in people in their 70s, the protective effects are strongest when regular walking habits are established in midlife, age 45 plus. A note on prevention. It is important to remember that while walking can significantly lower your risk and delay symptoms for years, it is not a guaranteed cure. It is best used as one part of a brain-healthy lifestyle that includes social engagement, a healthy diet, and managing blood pressure.
Yeah, so the key takeaway that I got from that is, you know, if you walk 9,800 steps per day, it's associated with a 50% reduction of the possibility of you getting Alzheimer's later in life, right? And it said, you know, that if you develop this habit at least by the age 45, you know, it reduces your chances that much more, right? So let's ask, hold on. How is Alzheimer's, well, hold on. Okay. How is alcohol consumption associated with Alzheimer's?
The relationship between alcohol and Alzheimer's has undergone a major shift in scientific understanding over the last year. While older studies often suggested that a glass of wine might be heart healthy or even brain protective, current 2026 research has largely debunked the idea that alcohol offers any protection against dementia. The myth of moderate drinking benefits. Recent Mendelian randomization studies, which use genetic data to determine cause and effect, have clarified why earlier research was misleading. Reverse causation. It was discovered that people in the very early silent stages of dementia often naturally stop drinking because they feel unwell or confused. This made it look like not drinking caused the dementia, when in reality, the dementia caused the sobriety. The sick quitter effect. Many non-drinkers in studies had actually quit drinking due to pre-existing health issues, which skewed the data to make moderate drinkers appear healthier by comparison. Direct impacts on Alzheimer's pathology. Recent clinical evidence shows that alcohol acts as an accelerant for Alzheimer's in several specific ways. Amyloid plaque accumulation. Even moderate alcohol consumption is now linked to an increase in amyloid beta plaques, the toxic protein clusters that are the hallmark of Alzheimer's. Brain atrophy. Imaging shows that alcohol consumption is associated with faster shrinkage of the hippocampus, the brain's memory center. Metabolic disruption. Alcohol can lead to spikes in blood sugar and insulin resistance in the brain, a condition sometimes referred to as Type 3 diabetes, which is closely tied to Alzheimer's progression. Understanding the risk levels. While any consumption carries some risk, the severity scales significantly with volume. Consumption level. Observed effect on the brain. None. Lowest risk for alcohol-related neurodegeneration. Light. 1 to 3 drinks per week. Linked to a 15% increase in dementia risk compared to non-drinkers in recent genetic models. Moderate. 7 to 14 units per week. Associated with visible loss of white matter and accelerated brain aging. Brains appearing roughly 2 years older than their chronological age. Heavy. Greater than 21 units per week. Significant risk for alcohol-related brain damage, ARBD, and a dramatically higher rate of cognitive decline. Alcohol-related dementia versus Alzheimer's. It is also important to distinguish between the two. Alzheimer's, a progressive disease where proteins, tau and amyloid, build up and destroy neurons. Alcohol makes this process happen faster. Alcohol-related dementia, ARBD, caused directly by the toxic effects of ethanol or nutritional deficiencies, like vitamin B1. Unlike Alzheimer's, ARBD can sometimes be stabilized or partially reversed if the person stops drinking entirely and receives nutritional support. The 2026 consensus. The current medical consensus is that no amount of alcohol is good for the brain. If your goal is to minimize Alzheimer's risk, the most effective strategy is to limit alcohol consumption as much as possible, as even social levels of drinking appear to reduce the brain's reserve capacity, making it more vulnerable to age-related decline.
Yeah, man. So basically, in a nutshell, man, that alcohol is damaging your brain, man. The alcohol is brain damage, man. Alcohol equals brain damage. So, me, I love my brain. I love the way that my brain functions. I love the potential of my brain. I love exercising my brain, and I don't want to do anything to damage my brain at all. So yeah, no alcohol for me, man. You did, but yeah, man. Hopefully, it's done that provides some encouragement for you as far as struggling with quitting alcohol. Okay, I see y'all done got the likes up, man, but still a lot of y'all in here that ain't wiped your feet off at the door when you stepped into a pimp's domain, man. So please do a pimp a favor. Wipe your feet off at the door when you step into a pimp's domain. Hit that like button. But hold on. We got some more Super Russ to shout out. Brother Bill, good looking with the $2 holla. Glory to God for this game. Long live Philip Brandon Gilmore. Salute. Yes, indeed. Appreciate you, man. Google me. Good looking with the $10 holla. You've talked about turning 304s to the game instead of to yourself. But for squares, should they turn women on to themselves or onto the idea of something bigger like family or business? Well, see, this is what I want you to understand, Google me, as far as why we say that in the game. Turn the chick out to the game as opposed to onto ourselves, right? We say that because we understand that ain't no 304 gonna stick around forever. They all have an expiration date. And just like 304s leave the pimping, the pimping is going to get 304s that come from other pimps, right? So we understand it's like a revolving door with this game. So that's why we say that, right? And we don't want to turn a 304 onto ourselves because we don't want the 304 to be more in love with us than she is with the game, right? Because if she's in love with the game, then, I'm going to be a natural byproduct of the benefit as far as the benefit goes, right? As the pimping, I'm going to benefit because I'm a part of the game along with her, right? So, but for a square, it works a little differently because you don't get with a woman that you want to take serious and be in a relationship with the mindset of, oh, she gonna leave eventually, man. So, you know, so no, you definitely want her to be into the idea of, something bigger than herself, like family. Business is a little bit different. That's kind of like optional, but if this is somebody that you want to take serious, you want to be in a serious relationship with, yeah, you want her to be into you. You want her to be into you, right? And, especially if you're into her like that, if you're into her like that, you want her to reciprocate that. You want her to be into you as well. So, yeah, that's a little different from the game. But at the same time, with y'all being into each other, it's good that if y'all like are serving something bigger than yourselves, like a family, like y'all want to start a family together and grow together and build together as a family. Yeah. You want her to be into that. Y'all both want to be into that as well. But, on some square shit, it's okay for her to be into you. So yeah. The gangster lifestyle, good looking with the $5 holler. I don't know about dementia, but I've seen what cirrhosis of the liver does. Imagine throwing up pieces of your liver. Yeah, that cirrhosis is fucked up, man. I know somebody. Actually, I know a few people who died from that, man, and literally drank themselves to death. And that's a horrible way to go too. You ain't never lied about that. Yeah, as I think about it, more and more people is coming to mind, man, that I know that had that problem. That shit right there ain't no joke. You ain't never lied. 50 floors up, good looking with the $2 holler. Fried foods or alcohol, what's worse? That's a tough one, man. I don't know which one is worse, honestly. Me personally, I don't know. I know they both real bad for you. But man, that's a tough one. I don't know. That, sir, is a tough one. I know they both bad for you, and I don't indulge. I ain't fucking with neither one of them, man. Because fried food is real bad for your arteries and bad for you in a number of ways. Ain't that how Nate Dogg went out? I think that was a part of what happened to Nate Dogg, but also Nate Dogg had an accident. If I'm not mistaken, I think Nate Dogg had a car accident where he got fucked up. He had some kind of head injury or something, and then I think after that he started having seizures. See, Nate Dogg had a similar issue like Tina Marie. Because if for those of y'all who don't remember, Tina Marie, that was fucked up what happened to Tina Marie. Tina Marie was staying at this hotel, I think in Vegas. I think she was staying at a hotel in Vegas, and she was asleep in bed, and a picture that was over the bed fell down on her head. And after that, she started having, seizures and shit like that. But basically, that injury slowly but surely led to her death. And I think that's kind of similar what happened to Nate Dogg. Rest in peace to both of them. Are you still fasting freeze? No, I just did a 7-day fast for the first 7 days of this month. I didn't eat any food. So no, I just did it for 7 days. I'm not fasting anymore. Cause like I said, for those of y'all who don't remember that, back in October, I did a 5-day fast for the first 5 days of October. And I let it be known then that from now on, every 6 months, which is every October and every April, for the first 7 days of those months, I'm going to do a fast. So my next 7-day fast is going to be the first 7 days of October. First 7 days of October, no food. First 7 days of April, no food. Every October and April, I'm going to do that. Unless I figure out, something is more suitable for me. Right now, that's the tip that I'm on. Right now, what I'm on, every 6 months, 7-day fast. So, and man, that shit do justice, right? So I don't know if I told y'all this, right? So I'll tell you, right? One thing that fast helped me with. This shit crazy, right? So listen, back in like probably like either the middle or late, I'll say it's probably like the middle of January, right? I was on my smoothie tip because this time I brought my Ninja down here with me, right? My Ninja blender. So I was making smoothies and shit, right? And my greedy fat ass, you know how big that pitcher is on the Ninja, right? That big ass pitcher to make smoothies with the Ninja. I drank that whole shit at one time with my fat greedy ass, right? I was on some fat bullshit, right? I drank that whole pitcher of a smoothie, which I don't know how many ounces that shit is. That shit's like probably 72 ounces, something crazy, right? I drank that all of that motherfucking smoothie, right? My dumb ass. So when I did that, man, that shit fucked my stomach up. Tore my stomach up. After I drank that shit, man, over the next week, I probably sat on the toilet about 150 times. 100 times easy. No, and I'm not even being funny or exaggerating or none of that shit. Over that next week, I probably sat on the toilet at least 100 times, maybe 150 times. I was toe up. And then after that, for like the next couple months, all the way up until I did my fast this month, I was just like, I hate getting into details and shit, but my stools was like, they wasn't solid. You know what I mean? I was having like diarrhea like all the time. You know what I mean? My shits wasn't regular, you know? So I think my gut was fucked up from that smoothie, right? And it hadn't never recovered after I drank that. Yeah, like 2 liter. I drank like a 2 liter smoothie, Ray Tools, for real. At one time. Just on some fast shit. That shit was fire. And I downed the whole shit at one time with my stupid ass. Don't never do no shit like that. I'm telling you. It's going to fuck you up. Don't never, even if you can consume it and it's no problem. Because, I can consume a lot of food at one time, man. So, I downed that shit and I wasn't even full. Like, but don't do that. It's going to fuck you up. Don't do that. Don't be like Freeze. But one thing that fast did is it gave my digestive system a break. So it allowed my gut and my intestines and all that shit to reset. It's like I did a reboot on my digestive system in my gut. I allowed all the bacteria and all that shit to reset. And after that, like basically my point is, since I did that fast, I'm back to normal. I'm cool now. Right? I ain't had no issues since I did that fast. So that's one thing, one of many things that a fast can do for you. If you have like autoimmune issues, like if you got like eczema or psoriasis or, any type of autoimmune issues, man, a fast can be very helpful for that type of shit too. You might have, real bad psoriasis or something like that, or real bad eczema on some parts of your body, or you might have real bad dandruff and shit like that. All that shit is autoimmune. If you do a fast, an extended fast, it can be helpful for all that type of stuff. But then also too, what a lot of people don't understand is a lot of that has to do with your diet. People that have autoimmune issues, it's inflammation. And a lot of the foods that you eat are keeping you inflamed. So fasting can help you with that. But then also within fasting, it's good to change your diet. But Crook 9 says, how men born after 97 week, fam? I'm an '02 baby. Hey man, it ain't everybody. You might be the exception to the rule. I hope you are, man. But hey, you know, a lot of guys born after 97, man. But it ain't but this is what I want you to understand too. It's not your fault. A lot of you is not really your fault because you were born into a world that you didn't ask for. You was born into a society that you didn't ask for. And it was designed for you to be weak. So if you were born after 97 and you not no weak ass, mark ass, sucker ass nigga, then congratulations to you, man. You know? Yeah, congratulations to you, man. If you're an '02 baby and you a solid, you a real nigga and all that, you know what I mean? Much props to you, man. I hope that's so. You dig? Mac Media Video, good looking with the 2-pound holla. What are your thoughts on being whole food vegan? Uh, I don't know. Me myself, I don't really. As I'm learning more, I don't like just for me myself. I wouldn't probably ever be vegan. I probably wouldn't do it, but it works for people though. You know, to each their own. I think it can be good, but see, this is what I will say: being vegan isn't just as simple as not eating anything that comes from the animal. It's not that simple. You have to be smart about what you're doing if you're gonna be vegan. You gotta do your research. You gotta study. You gotta learn how to properly do that shit because just because you're vegan doesn't mean that you just like gonna instantly be of good health. You know, it's a lot of food out there that don't come from the animal that's bullshit, right? And a lot of people might do that. So, you know, it's just good to do your research. If you gonna go that route, I would advise you to just be wise about it. But I think it can be okay, you know. But for me personally, I probably wouldn't do it. Mac Media Video, good looking with the €5 or £5 holla, excuse me. Good looking once again. Thomas Clark says, do you drink protein shakes freeze? Not anymore. I used to, but not anymore. I just like the idea of just being natural. And that's not, you know, it's not considered like cheating as far as like steroids or no shit like that. But what I do know is that there's nothing better than getting your protein from what you eat. You know, now people who don't have big appetites and can't consume a lot of food, you know, and you need to get your protein up and a shake will help you do it. You know, I can't be mad at you, but for me, I just like getting my protein from what I eat. And I can eat you know, fortunately for myself, I can eat a shitload of food. I can eat a lot of food. You know what I mean? People be joking with me and telling me I need to enter a food, like an eating contest. And I probably could. I probably have crushed that shit. But yeah, I like getting my protein from what I eat. So I probably haven't had a protein shake at least a year and a half. Probably about a year and a half. I haven't had a protein shake. Yeah, I don't do it anymore. So Ryan Marble says, as a pharmacist who works with drugs and autoimmune disease, freeze is right. Yeah, see, that made me feel good, man. The pharmacist, you know, to let me know that I was, you know, I'm on the right track, man. Good looking, man. Dig that. French fries are vegan. Exactly. You know what I mean? But French fries is terrible for you. Especially if you're getting them from a restaurant. Like, if you make some French fries yourself at home with some extra virgin olive oil, then they probably might not be as bad. You know. But if you're eating French fries from any restaurant, chances are that those French fries are cooked in some grease that's getting used over and over and over and over and over and over and over again throughout the day. So, you know, you consuming these French fries is cooked in this grease with all these free radicals in them and all that type of shit, man. It's just the thought of it is scary. So yeah, French fries, no bueno. Baked sweet potato instead. Yeah, now that's surcharge. That's a much better choice. You dig? Extra virgin olive oil is always the best alternative for sure. Yes, indeed. And when you buy your extra virgin olive oil, make sure it's in a dark glass. You know, the olive oil that comes like in a dark green glass or something like that. Just make sure it come in a dark glass. And when you get it, make sure you store it in a dark, cool place. Don't put it where it's a bunch of light, because that fucks it up. Put it in the cabinet somewhere and keep it in the cabinet. Don't take it out the cabinet unless you're using it. When you're done using it, put it right back in the cabinet. And when you buy it, like me, what I do is, not only do I get the extra virgin olive oil in the dark glass, don't get the ones that come in the plastic. That ain't the best. The best is the ones that come in the glass, and then make sure, like me, I get the ones that's all the way in the back, behind all the rest of the glasses. I get the extra virgin olive oil that's all the way in the back because it's in the dark, behind other shit in the dark. That's what I do. What's your meal plan like, Freeze? Well, most days you kind of could say I'm damn near on some carnivore shit right now. Well, I'll say I have my carnivore days. I'm not like strictly carnivore, but I'll be having some carnivore days. But a lot of days I will eat. In the morning I'll eat some sardines, like a can of sardines. But lately, what I've been doing in the morning is I'll eat a can of sardines and have a fruit smoothie at the same time. But I don't do that big ass 2-liter shit no more. I ain't doing that. I just have like a regular glass, because you know how they got the glass, like you can make the 1 serving smoothies. I'll do that. So I'll eat in the morning. I'll eat a can of sardines and have a fruit smoothie along with it. And then later on in the day, I've been going crazy, man. Y'all gonna look at me crazy when you hear this, but I'll eat 2 whole chickens at one time. 2 rotisserie chickens at one time. I was eating, on the days that I eat that, I was doing it where like I would eat, a rotisserie chicken at one point in the day and then eat another one later in the day. But shit, like today I ate a whole rotisserie chicken at one time. And then if I'm not doing that, like if I cook, I'll eat 4 pounds of ground chicken with like 9 eggs. Yeah, I eat 4 pounds of ground chicken and 9 eggs at one time. Yep. So that's pretty much how I'm eating. I ain't eating no bread, no rice. I might eat a little bit of potatoes here and there every once in a while, but that ain't like an everyday thing. But on some daily shit, just about every morning I'm eating sardines and having a fruit smoothie with it. And then later in the day, it's either 2 rotisserie chickens or 4 pounds of ground chicken with 9 eggs. Yeah. Is ground chicken better than ground turkey? Uh, I don't know. I think it's just like probably a matter of preference. I don't know if one is necessarily better than the other. But here in Colombia, I don't be seeing ground turkey like that. And ground chicken is kind of, you got to know where to go to get that shit. But yeah, I don't know if one is necessarily better than the other. In the United States, it's fucked up, man. Damn near everything is bad, man. But yeah, since I've been here, I've been eating ground turkey because I don't see ground chicken. Like when I'm in the States, ground turkey is more readily available than ground chicken. So in the States, I'm usually getting the ground turkey, the 99% lean, 1% fat. It took me 3 hours to eat 1 pound of Wagyu and 4 eggs. Damn, 3 hours? Shit, I probably would have ate that in 20 minutes. But, it is a process, though, because the way that I eat now, I wasn't always able to eat that much at one time. I had to, work my appetite up to that. So, yeah. Highly processed. Yeah, turkey is scarce. Highly processed foods in the USA. Yeah, man. Meat be making my stomach heavy. HBK says, "Are you a Colombian resident?" No, I'm not a Colombian resident. I just like being here. I kind of wish I was a Colombian resident, though. Even though if I was a Colombian resident, I wouldn't just stay here all the time. I would come and go. But so Charles said, "Compi, pollo asado, dame dos." Exactly. Compa, pollo asado, dame dos. Sardines, you fix them up or eat them straight? Unknown. I just eat them straight because so, and that's not really my preference, but it's just a Colombian thing. Most of the supermarkets that you go to out here, the sardines are in tomato sauce. And it's kind of hard to find them like in extra virgin olive oil or something like that. Or just in something else, or just in water or something. But 9 times out of 10, when you go to the supermarket out here and you go to get some sardines, they're gonna be in tomato sauce. That's just how they do it out here. So I just eat them straight out the can. Just peel the top back, eat them out the can with the tomato sauce. And I just do it like that. Jolie P say freeze chestnut. Nah, I'm working on it, man. The octopus too, or in oil. Corey Coolbree say, "You speaking Spanish fluently, freeze?" Nah, I ain't fluent, but I could hold a conversation. I could get by. My Spanish done got way better than it was when I first got here. That's for sure. My Spanish is way better, but I can get by though. You know what I mean? Like I said, I could hold a decent conversation and I could get by. I ain't fluent though. I ain't gonna say that. I'm far from fluent, but I'm getting there. I'm gonna get there. I'm going to be fluent. That's for sure. Do you usually feel full after all that or just satisfied? You know what's crazy? When I get full, and I don't know if it's just like it gotta be the food out here in Colombia, but when I don't get full, when I get full, I don't be having like the itis. It don't just like when I get full, I'm still like energized. When I get full, I still have a bunch of energy. And I know part of it is because I don't really eat carbs like that, because the carbs it would give you the itis. Them carbs be making you all sleepy and sluggish and all that type of shit. When you eating all that bread and rice and pasta and tortillas and all that shit, when you eating all that shit have you like, man, damn, I can't even move. I don't feel like doing shit right now. But I don't eat all that stuff, so the combination of me not eating all that stuff and then two, me not being in the United States eating all that fucking bullshit that they giving us that they call food. I don't like when I get food. I mean, when I get full, I don't have like that stuffed feeling. You know what I mean? Like right now, right before I went live. Well, probably about an hour before I went live, I ate 2 whole chickens. And I'm full, but I'm not like I could do anything right now. I could go to the gym and work out right now if the gym was open, you know what I mean? Shit. I can go walk for 5 miles if I wanted to right now and not feel, no type of way about it. So yeah. It's one thing I love about down here, man, and I'm pretty sure it's like that in most other parts of the world outside the United States, man. The food quality is great. The food quality is great, you dig? Blessed to you, church. Keep your foot on the gas. HBK, appreciate you, man. You're going to start calling yourself Don Frio, Don Elad. Nah, just freeze the pimp. That's all. Right, like Jolie P say, actually satiated. Yeah, man. Because that's the thing too. See, when you eat carbs, especially them highly refined carbs. See, this is what they ain't gonna tell you, especially in the United States, man. All that bread that you eat, or really just almost all the food that you buy from the supermarket in the United States, man, especially them commercial chains, they put things in the food to make you crave more of it. This is why so many of us in the United States have diabetes, high blood pressure, autoimmune diseases of different kinds, and just a bunch of like illnesses that we shouldn't have, because by them putting things in the food that make you crave more of it, this is how we overeat. And then not only are we overeating, but we overeating a lot of bullshit. So, down here, I don't have that problem. I eat until I'm satisfied and I'm cool. I'm full, but I'm not overeating, even though I am eating a lot of food now. But it's just different, I guess, because it's mostly meat that I'm eating. I don't know, it's just different. But when you eating a lot of bread and rice and pasta and a lot of food that they give you in the United States, that shit is designed to make you want more and more of it. And so you overeat, and by the time your brain catches up with what your body is doing, your mouth and your stomach and all that shit, by the time your brain catches up and realizes what's going on, it's telling your body what's going on, and your body like, damn, shit, man, I ate way too much. But I haven't had that feeling even in the United States. I haven't had that feeling of being stuffed in a long time, because like I said, I don't eat all them heavy carbs and shit. So you eat sweet potatoes freeze? No, I love sweet potatoes though, but I haven't had none in a while. But I know sweet potatoes are super nutrient dense though. Sweet potatoes got a lot of good. They're very good for you. Super nutrient dense food. But no, I haven't had no sweet potatoes in a while. Especially that out to eat food makes you keep coming back chasing that high. Right. Like Salah Samuri Sufi. I hope I said your name right. Yeah, that's real shit. Now you're 10 pounds. Now you're 10 pounds overweight in 1 week. Exactly. You know what I mean? You already know, man. They just put that, they putting shit in the food. It's like, it ain't cool, man. And then now, see, I heard that RFK Jr. Recently changed the food pyramid. I'm just curious to see. Hold on. Cause I haven't looked at it. I haven't seen the new food pyramid, but I heard that they changed it and it's supposedly like opposite of what it was. Cause that food pyramid shit that they came out with like in the, what was that, like the late 70s, early 80s, when they came out with that food pyramid, man, that shit was the worst shit in the world. That's the reason why so many of us are sick right now and why we done lost so many loved ones to hypertension and diabetes and everything that comes along with that, man. That bullshit. That bullshit ass food pyramid. You stick primarily with vegetables and meat. Uh yeah, even though honestly I haven't been eating a lot of vegetables lately. But lately it's probably been more like, it's been more like meat and fruit with a little bit of vegetables. But normally it's mainly meat and vegetables though, like especially when I be on my salad shit. Okay, this is the new food pyramid. Let me see. Let's see what this new food pyramid is about. Let's say Black Women's Health Imperative. All right, hold on. We about to take a look at this new food pyramid, man. All right, so this is the new food pyramid that they done put out. The new food pyramid and what it means for our plates. See, I don't know. I'm already in disagreement with a few things on here. But they got certain, I don't know. Okay, protein, dairy, and healthy fats. Protein and healthy fats, but I don't agree with the dairy part. And vegetables and fruit. Uh, and then they got whole grains at the bottom. But see, them whole grains, they be spraying them whole grains down with some bullshit, man. So them whole grains ain't, all that oatmeal and shit. We used to think that shit was good for you, man, but that shit ain't cool. Be intentional about red meat. Research has linked high consumption of processed and fatty red meats to increased risk of colorectal In other cancers, damn. That doesn't mean red meat must be eliminated entirely, but it does mean quality and portion size matter. When you do choose red meat, opt for lean cuts and higher quality sources like grass fed. But see, they'll tell you some shit is grass fed and it be some bullshit, man. Like they'll tell you this cow is grass fed, but you know it ain't free range. Like it ain't out there in the pasture. Even though they say pasture raised, it'll be like a little square little section that they got these cows in and shit with some grass, and they barely can, you know, move around and shit like that, but they quote unquote in the pasture eating grass, and it's be a bunch of bullshit, man. Quality sources like grass fed or pasture raised when available. Right, when available. That's the question. When is it really truly available? Because they'll advertise some shit like it is what it ain't. Balanced meals with plant-based proteins, fish, poultry, beans, and lentils. Cut sodium without cutting flavor. Excess sodium contributes to high blood pressure and bloating, issues that often intensify during midlife. Many seasoning blends and marinades are loaded with salt, even when they don't taste especially salty. Instead, build flavor with spices and herbs such as turmeric, cumin, paprika, garlic powder, ginger, cayenne, rosemary, thyme, and black pepper. These options add depth without the sodium and can support anti-inflammatory health. Eat protein first, especially midlife. Now that's what I be on. I get my protein in first. But that's damn near all I eat is protein, you know, with a little bit of fats up in there too. As estrogen levels change, is this specifically for women? Or is this just for people in general? I don't know. As estrogen levels change, women are at a higher risk for muscle loss, blood sugar swings, and increased appetite later in the day. Starting meals with protein helps stabilize blood sugar, supports muscle maintenance, and keeps you fuller longer. Think eggs, Greek yogurt, grilled fish, tofu, beans, lentils, lean chicken, or nuts and seeds as anchors for your meals. Me, I ain't gonna do the Greek yogurt because it's dairy. Tofu, I've only tried it a couple times, and it's just like a texture thing with me. I don't like the texture of tofu, so I don't know. But I guess if you could do the tofu, go ahead. Get honest about added sugars. Added sugars show up everywhere. Salad dressings, nope. Sauces, nope. Cereal, nope. Flavored yogurt, nope. And snacks marked as quote unquote healthy, nope. See, Pimp ain't got none of this shit in my diet. I don't do salad dressings even when I do salads. I don't do sauces. I don't do cereal. I don't do yogurt. And I don't do snacks marked as healthy. I ain't doing none of that shit. Because even the shit that's supposed to be healthy for you is tampered with. So, high sugar intake is linked to increased inflammation, weight gain, and risk of type 2 diabetes. Look for ways to satisfy sweetness naturally with whole fruit, cinnamon, vanilla, nutmeg, or citrus zest instead of relying on packaged foods with hidden sugars. Yeah, man, you know, basically just do your best to eat foods with one ingredient, man. Anything that got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 ingredients and all that shit, man, you don't need to be eating nothing that got a whole bunch of different ingredients that you can't, especially ingredients that you can't even pronounce. You don't need to be eating no shit like that. I'm not eating no shit like that with a bunch of ingredients that I can't even pronounce. This sound like it's a different language, but it's English, and this is in my food. I'm not eating that shit. Focus on patterns, not perfection. That's real. No single food determines health. What matters most is the overall pattern. How often we rely on whole foods, how balanced our plates are, and how well our choices support our bodies over time. Damn, I see my shit tripping, man. Shit tripping. If the shit get to acting up on you, just go out and come back in. Where was I? Especially during perimenopause and menopause. Perimenopause, I don't know if that's premenopause or after menopause, postmenopause, I don't know. Nutrition should feel supportive, not restrictive. As conversations about national dietary guidance continue, it is important to remember that health equity means guidance must work in real life across cultures, budgets, and life stages. At BWHI, we'll continue to examine these policy shifts through the lens of evidence, equity, and lived experiences of black women. Okay, so this is geared towards women. But, you know, some of the things they were saying in here kind of apply to everybody, really. But this is the new food pyramid, though, I guess. Now, for those of y'all who don't know, let's look at the old food pyramid. Oh, they had it right here. I guess it's the new versus the old. Is that what this is? Let me see. Oh, shit. Is this food pyramid still relevant? Oh, this is from 2023. This is old. That ain't the shit. Did we looking for? Thought it was gonna show me. Okay. Oh, this is the comparison of the old versus the new. Let's see what they talking about. Let's see what they talking about, man. If they gonna advise us some good shit. The old food pyramid versus RFK Jr.'s new pyramid. See the guidelines. See how the guidelines have evolved over time. For 46 years, the government has been trying to give us advice on how to eat better. The original guidelines from 1980. Oh, yeah, so it was. I knew it was like the late 70s, early 80s, but it was the early 80s when they came with this food pyramid. There was some bullshit. I ain't going to get all into that, but why is it like, okay. Fats, oils, and sweets used sparingly. When it come to find out, fats and oils, the right kind of oils, you know, is good for you. Sweets not necessarily. But then, okay, milk, yogurt, cheese group, 2 to 3 servings. You don't need none of this shit, man. None of this dairy shit. You don't even need to fuck with none of that, man. So they already telling you some bullshit right here with the old pyramid, man. This is the shit we grew up on, man. If you was born in the 80s and shit like that, or maybe even if you was a kid coming into the 80s, you was born in the 70s, you grew up on this shit right here, man. Yeah, man, this is a bunch of bullshit, man. All this motherfucking, cow pus and all this shit, man. Create mucus in your body and all that, man. Yeah, man, that shit ain't cool, man. Okay, now on this side, they got meat, poultry, fish, dry beans, eggs, and nuts group. This is some good stuff over here for you. You know what I mean? All this stuff is good protein for you and all that. You dig? Yeah. Vegetable group. Okay. Fruit group. Some people say the fruit ain't good for you because it got a lot of sugar, but it's not added sugars. It's natural sugar, which is a little different. So, yeah. Bread, cereal, rice, pasta. Rice pasta group. Yeah, they got this damn 9 or 6, what's that say? 6 to 11 servings. See how they trying to fuck you up with this shit, man? They want you to eat 6 to 11 servings So basically, they telling you to eat 11 servings of a combination of bread, cereal, rice, and pasta. This shit right here is probably the worst part of this whole food pyramid, man. This milk and yogurt and cheese shit is too, and this fats and oil shit being at the top real little. That's some bullshit too. But having all these motherfucking heavy carbs down here at the bottom for us, man, they cold blooded. Man, they cold blooded. They just do us any old kind of way, man. The hell is this? They did us dirty, man, and we was on this shit, man. We was eating a bunch of cereal, oatmeal. We eating all the motherfucking Apple Jacks and Lucky Charms and Captain Crunch and Frosted Flakes and Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Man, we eating all this bullshit with all this sugar and all this food coloring, to it, and all these dyes and shit in our food, man. And then they putting shit in the food to make it have a longer shelf life. That ain't cool, man. Man, some bullshit. Then they having us eat, oatmeal and bread that's coming from grains that got a bunch of bullshit sprayed on it. What the fuck is this, man? Goddamn. Yeah, man, they cold-blooded for this food pyramid, man. This is why a lot of our loved ones went to the graveyard early. This is why a lot of us right now are sick in a million different ways. Yeah, this shit is cold-blooded, man. Boy, I tell you, they did us dirty. They did us dirty, man. They did a number on us, man. They cold-blooded, but guess what? Hey, man, there's a lot of people leaving the United States, man. They say, people is leaving the United States in record numbers. Like they thinking it's a mass exodus out of the United States right now, man. A lot of people is leaving. And a lot more people is probably going to leave much sooner than later. There's so many things bad about the United States. I think the worst thing is probably the food. Some of y'all might agree with me. Some of y'all might disagree with me. And if you disagree and think something else is worse than the food, I can't be mad at you. But it's like, food is what you need to live, man. That shit is vital. So if the food is bad, Salah said named all the hitter cereals. For real, man. All them cereals is terrible for you, man. Like, I'm glad I turned out okay, man. Because I used to be I was a cereal eating. I was a little cereal eating motherfucker when I was a kid, man. I used to love that shit. And even, a big part of my adult life, I was like eating cereal. Even later when I stopped eating dairy, I would still eat cereal, every so often and shit like that, man. But knowing what I know now, man, hell no. Cereal is terrible for you, man. That's some of the worst shit you could put in your body. The damn cereal. Hold up. Hold up. E-books, good looking with the $5 holla. What did more damage to the community? Rappers promoting lean in music videos, or them starting liquor brands? Oh man, that's easy to promoting the lean in the music. That did way more damage than, certain people starting their own liquor brand. You know, because lean, I don't give a damn what nobody say. You know, and that's a problem with our community as well. We think that just because something is expensive, then that makes it acceptable. That makes it okay. We wouldn't give a damn what it is, man. If that shit's expensive, we gonna buy it. If you make something expensive, black people gonna buy it. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. At least black people in America, man. You could start a stir-fried shit brand. Stir-fried dog shit. You could figure out a way how to stir-fry some dog shit and put a $500 price tag on that shit. Black folks is gonna buy it. I hate to say it, but it's true. You know what I mean? Don't let it be some stir-fried dog shit with some motherfucking glitter in it and make it shiny. Oh, we really gonna buy that shit up. Some stir-fried dog shit with glitter sprinkles in it. Make that shit $500, man, for a pound of that shit. Black folks is gonna buy it. Whatever is expensive, it could be the dumbest shit, it could be the ugliest shit, the most unfly shit, the most unhealthy shit. If it's expensive, it's gonna get our money. And lean is just some expensive ass liquid heroin. Some expensive ass liquid heroin. Man, these rappers are spending a fortune on that shit. What some of them ain't gonna tell you is a lot of these rappers is going broke on that shit. They breaking themselves to the lean man. They the lean man's favorite trick. A lot of these rappers. You know what I mean? Just like that hoe see that big time, you know, that big money trick. And she like, jackpot. Yeah, that's how the lean man be when he see a lot of these rappers. So yeah, man. That lean is doing a, you know, rappers promoting that shit in their music and their videos and shit like that. Yeah, that's doing a way worse number on us than that motherfucking alcohol. Alcohol is bad for you too, but that liquid heroin is something else. Liquid heroin is a whole nother demon, you dig? Blake the Honorable, good looking with the $5 holler. Much appreciated. Mac Media Video, good looking with the £5 holler. The problem is microplastics in fish, saturated fat from chicken, and carcinogens in red meat. Take out hormones, etc. Yeah, man, you know, in the United States got that shit bad, man. It's fucked up. You know, they trying to make sure that everybody gets sick. They want everybody to die from a sickness that's unnatural. A sickness that, you know, us as human beings shouldn't even have to worry about. You know. You know, certain diseases that they used to call king's diseases because only kings could afford to eat like that. But now they done made it available for everybody to overeat. Shit like that. And get these rich people's diseases. It ain't cool, man. Lojo, good looking with that $2 holler. What did you think of Turkey Leg Hut in the lines? I don't know. I can't really, you know, I ain't never had Turkey Leg Hut. I remember when people was going crazy about it and shit like that, but I never had it though. So I can't really say. And I know it was like a lot of controversy with the owner of that shit, and he caught a case and all that shit, but I don't really know a lot of details about Turkey Leg Hut. So I can't really say, man. Yeah, man, one more person, go ahead, wipe your feet off at the door, man. Really, everybody need to wipe their feet off at the door when you step into a pimp's domain. Where we one person away from that 300 likes, man. So go ahead, man. Wipe your feet off at the door when you step into a pimp's domain. Hit that like button. Y'all like me talking about this health shit, man, because I notice a lot of these live streams, man, after we talk about the game towards the end, we get to a health conversation, which is good, man. I like the fact that you know, y'all like me. Y'all have a strong interest in health and, you know, healthy lifestyle, man. That's what's up. Caleb Henderson, good looking with the $5 holler. What about the hormones in the meat, Freeze? You know, it's fucked up, man. Like, you know, like I said, man, it just seems to me like when you leave the United States, you don't have all these issues, man. But for those of us that are not able to leave the United States for one reason or another, man, it's fucked up. They, like I said, it's like they trying to make us sick, man, from so many different angles. It's like like I said before, it's like the food industry in the quote unquote health and pharmaceutical industry and all that type of shit. It's like they ping pong us back and forth. It's like you got the food industry getting you sick over here and they ping pong you to the health industry. But then the health industry, they're not going to cure nothing, you know, because they're not dietitians. So they're not going to tell you how to eat to live. They're not going to tell you, you know, the types of foods that you need to stop eating that's making you sick. And what foods you need to start eating that's going to help heal you. You know, the quote unquote health industry is not going, in the pharmaceutical industry, they're not going to give you that information. So it's just fucked up, man. Then they make it so hard to, for, you know, the right kind of food to be available to you, man. It's just fucked up. But had to chop up some cucumber right quick off this one. Uncle Zell heard the fuck out of that. Lord Love Smith says, objectively speaking, who did more damage to the community, the pimp or the dope dealer? Oh, that's easy, man. The dope dealer, shit. You know, the dope dealer for sure. Because, you know, pimping ain't killing nobody. And pimping ain't doing anything that's, you know, directly leading somebody, you know, down the fast track to the end of their life. The dope dealer, on the other hand, he's selling death on the corner, you know, or in a trap house or any of that type of stuff, you know what I mean? Now, the weed man's a little different because the weed man ain't killing nobody, you know. It might be some unalivings that take place over money in the weed game, shit like that. But, you know, now weed is legal. It's fucked up how, and I think about that shit all the time, man, how you got so many brothers who done did years and years and years in prison behind selling weed, and now something that we was making millions off of illegally, they done legalized it and kind of cornered the market and basically phased us out of the equation because, you know, they took the illegal market away by legalizing the shit. So now it don't even make sense to sell on the street in most places. Some places it's still going on, but most places now in the United States, you know, people ain't selling pounds of weed on the streets no more like they was. So, and then they got so many flaming hoops and quicksand to get through and red tape to get through for a black man to own a dispensary. It's just fucked up. But back to the original question, who did more damage to the community, the pimp or the dope dealer? Nah, that's definitely the dope dealer, man. Dope dealers so cold, you got dope dealers that was selling dope to their own mama. Some shit that they know might kill their mama. To their own father, to their own sister or brother, cousin, auntie, grandma. You know what I mean? Yeah, that goes without question. Waters and 10, good looking with the $5 holler. How do you manage only eating one meal a day? I get food cravings after 10 hours. You get food cravings, Waters and 10, because like I said, you eating all them heavy carbs. And see, it's a process to get where I'm at. It wasn't an overnight thing. Now, for me, it's a lot easier because I just have like a certain type of self-discipline ingrained in me. I got a certain type of nature and mindset about myself to where whatever I put my mind to, I can just easily do it. But everybody's not like that. So it's for most people, it's a process. This not the easiest, right? But to get to the point where you're eating one meal a day, right? This is what you need to put your mind on. This is what I advise you to put your mind on. First, get to a point where you're not snacking throughout the day, where you're only eating your meals. So if you eat 3 meals a day, and then you might snack 3 or 4 times throughout the day, like you eat 3 full meals a day, like you eat a full breakfast, a full lunch, a full dinner, but in between that, you might have, a ice cream cone or a candy bar or, just some kind of snack, even if it's a healthy snack like some bananas or apples or, fruit or some shit like that. Get to a point where you're not snacking throughout the day and you're only eating your meals. Them 3 meals a day, right? No snacks in between. Then work on getting to a point where you phase one of the meals out and you're only eating 2 times a day, right? But within phasing the meals out, before you try to get to the 2 times a day, I would advise you to try to minimize your carbs. So if you eat 2 slices of bread throughout the day, cut it in half to 1. You know what I mean? If you eat a whole bowl of oatmeal, cut it into half a bowl of oatmeal. If you eat 1 wrap with a tortilla, whatever it is, whether it's a burrito or a chicken wrap or whatever, try to cut that out. But basically try to cut out as much carbs as you can. The heavy carbs, like the pasta, the rice, the bread, potatoes, all that type of shit. See if you can minimize that. Then once you can minimize that, then go from 3 meals to 2 meals, and then work your way from 2 meals to 1 meal. Right? Because when you have a low carb diet, like basically keto is what I'm describing. When you have a low carb diet and high fat, high protein diet, you don't get those food cravings like that. You don't get hungry as much. When you eating all them highly refined carbs and shit like that, that's what makes you hungry all the time. Right? And you notice a distinct difference when you change that shit. It's like night and day, man. Like now that I don't eat carbs, because I remember when I used to eat all that shit. I remember when I used to eat bread and oatmeal and cereal and rice and just all the heavy carbs and shit like that. When I used to eat like that, man, I used to be the same way. I used to be hungry all the time. I couldn't go 4-5 hours without eating and shit like that, man. I'd be starving. And this was just a few years ago that I was like that. But then once I started eating them salads, and then I was just down to eating just 2 salads a day, and I wasn't snacking throughout the day, and, I was cool like that. Then I went from eating 2 times a day to 1 time a day, and then now I'm back to eating 2 times a day, but the first time in the day that I eat, that's a small portion. It's just a can of sardines and a fruit smoothie. That's not really a lot of food. And then I'll have my big bulk of food later in the day. So, yeah. E-books, good looking with the $5 holler. Do you put your stable on diets when not in on the blade? Do you keep a strict 24/7 sobriety policy, or you lenient outside the blade? Uh, See, the thing about me, right? I understand the power of influence. So, I don't try to like force or enforce, certain things on a chick. I just lead by example. And oftentimes, they adopt my ways in a lot of ways. Some chicks be stubborn and don't, but I've learned that a lot of times those ones don't last too long. The ones that last a longer time and get a better run is the ones that just like, they try to mirror the pimping and be a reflection of the pimping in every way that they can. And oftentimes that reflects in the food that they eat. So, in the lifestyle that they live. So yeah, no, I don't have like, but now certain things that I just ain't with no more, man. Like I used to be okay with chicks that smoke weed, but now I don't want a chick to smoke no weed. I definitely don't want a chick that got a vape in her hand 24/7. That shit is such a turn off, and it's just like so unattractive. So I ain't trying to have no chick with no vape problem. I ain't trying to have a chick that smoke weed all the damn time. And I definitely ain't trying to have no chick that do any of the other hard shit, and not no alcoholic neither. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I'm on, man. E-books, good looking with the $5 holler. Who did more damage to the game? Dealer pretending to be a P, or a legit P that fell victim to his addiction? Uh, who did more damage between those two? I would probably have to say the dealer pretending to be a P. Or not even dealers pretending to be a P, just dealers, period, right? Because what you got to understand is like, yeah, a P who falls victim to drug addiction, he's going to do some damage to the game as well. But what you got to understand is that that dealer, whether he's trying to be a pimp or not, the dealer is going to provide ladies in the game with drugs, right? And even when the chick ain't got no folks, she's going to have access to drugs. So, which means even if she don't have a pimp, this a drug addict himself that then fell victim and became a drug addict, even if she don't have that in her life, she still got access to drugs. So, it's a lot of chicks that's going to have a drug problem, aside from being with some pimping. So, yeah, I'd have to say the drug dealer. But, not just necessarily the drug dealer trying to be a P. Just drug dealers, period. Trying to be a P or not. Northside Crazy T, good looking with the $2 holler. On calorie surplus, trying to get bigger, I have a gut. Well, see, I know you say you're trying to get bigger, so of course the calorie surplus is going to help you get bigger, but that gut, one thing that's going to help you get rid of that gut is one meal a day, 10,000 steps a day. That's going to help you get rid of that gut quick. But it might slow down your growth a little bit though. But once you get rid of that gut, then you could like start back on the calorie well, even with the calorie surplus, if it's one meal a day and you walking 10,000 steps a day, I don't know if you like me and you can eat a whole lot of food at one time with the calorie surplus. But if you're eating one meal a day, one time a day, and you're doing 10,000 steps or better a day, that gut is going to fall off of you like baggy clothes. And then, once that gut is gone, once you start putting that weight back on with the calorie surplus, if it's the right kind of surplus, you're going to put the weight back on without putting the gut back on. The weight is going to go to the right places. So, yeah. Yes, sir. Hold up. Waterson 10, good looking with the $5 holler. What did you say to get the girl that was on a full ride scholarship? Well, it's more than just what I said. It's how I presented myself to her. I seen that she was in a dilemma and I was the solution for her. You know what I mean? I just paid attention to her. I seen certain issues that she was having, and I knew how to be the solution to them issues that she was having. One issue that she was having is that she was in a strip club, a very profitable strip club, but she herself in particular wasn't making no money in that strip club. The night that I met her was a Friday night in Dallas Gentlemen's Club in Dallas, and it was a booming ass night. It was a lot of chicks in there having a good night, but she only made $100 that night. Right? This was on a Friday. Then the next day that I seen her in the strip club, it was a Saturday night. She made like $24. It's crazy how I remember these numbers. Shit. 18 years later. 17, 18 years later, however many years. But anyway, yeah. First night she made like $100. Friday night, Saturday night she made like $24, and both nights was booming. And so she had that issue, and then, because she wasn't really making no money, she had a little bucket that was having problems, mechanical issues, and then her phone was off. You know what I mean? So I was able to identify what was going on. One thing I was able to identify is that the DJ was digging on her. The DJ at the club, he had like a little thing for her, right? So I told her what to say and do in order to break on the DJ. She ended up doing and saying what I told her to say and do, and she ended up start breaking on the DJ. And then through her breaking on the DJ, she was able to fix the little issues with her little car, and then she was able to get her phone turned on. She was able to hand me a little money, and then I started giving her game on how to make money in the club. And she was listening to me and doing and saying whatever I told her to do and say. She started making some money in the club. Then I start, feeding her the thought of, leaving Texas and coming to California with me. You know what I mean? I was putting a little shit on her mind to think about as far as going to California. She had never been to California. She was like, I think she was like 19 or 20 years old at the time. She had never been to Cali, but she had family in Cali. So that was one thing that kind of intrigued her about going to California. And then two, I let her believe what she wanted to believe, because she was like, see, and this is an example of how Andre Taylor has taught y'all well-placed truth is better than a lie. I never lied to her. I was just responsible with the truth in my words, right? So she was like, yeah, once she was like entertaining the thought of going to California with me, she was like, yeah, I want to go to California with you, but I don't want to walk the blade. I want to find a strip club out there that I could work at. Like, cool, no problem. You can do it. One thing about it, whatever you do is going to be whatever you want to do. I'm never going to try to force you or make you do anything. That's the truth. But what she didn't know is that what I had in my mind is like, bitch, you're going to end up on the track, and it's going to be because you want to. You just don't know that you're going to want to yet. But I know that once I present the track to you, you're going to want to do it. And that's what ended up happening. When we got to California, and that was another thing she said. She was like, I work the internet. I'll play the internet. That's cool. And I want to get into a strip club, but I don't want to walk the blade. Okay, cool. Again, whatever you do is going to be what you want to do. So when we get to California, I'm taking her to different strip clubs and she auditioning and shit like that, but she's not getting hired at none of these strip clubs, right? So that was one thing. Then another thing, I got her an in-call where she could play the internet, but I got her the in-call on the blade. And I'll never forget, we was at a room. It used to be the Comfort Inn at that time. Before the Comfort Inn, it was something else. After the Comfort Inn, it was something else. And right now, something else has been something else after something else. But it's the hotel on Sunset Boulevard in La Brea in Hollywood, across the street from that 7-Eleven right there. See, Pimp, Pimp is a mastermind. I'm strategic. I know what I'm doing now. So she got an ad posting and shit like that and all that. So we over there at the room, and I say, baby, do me a favor. Go across the street, go to 7-Eleven and grab me this, that, and the third. I tell her a couple things to grab from 7-Eleven, right? So she walks just across the street to 7-Eleven. And she go get the little shit and come back. And she was like, Dad, it's crazy. I just walked across the street and like 3 or 4 cars pulled up on me trying to date me, and they was offering me this much money, that much money. And she was like, I wanted to do it, but I just didn't know what to do. And I was like, bitch. Okay, bitch, you want to work this blade now, huh? Now it don't look as scary as them bitches told you it was, and them tricks told you, and them squares and people in your life told you it was scary and shit like that and dangerous, bitch. Now you done got a first-hand look at this shit up close and personal, and it's kind of appealing to you, ain't it, bitch? You know what I mean? When Trick talk about give you some money right here on the spot, bitch, and he only gonna last 2 minutes. Yeah. Now you thinking about it, huh? Right. Sepulveda Prince, you already know. Back then, that's when the internet cafe was right there by the Ross and all that shit. And back then, that room, this was like 2008 or 2000. No, 2009. This was 2009. Right, gotcha, bitch. You know what I mean? So, but that wasn't the first blade. Sunset wasn't the first blade I put her down to actually work. Sunset was just where I took her to go open her eyes to the possibility of getting down on the blade. Once she was down to get down on the blade, the first blade I put her down on was Sepulveda, right? And it's a little chocolate bitch. Nice little petite, little slim, not even slim thick, but like slim fit body, you know what I mean? Had like a little bitty bubble back there, nice flat, firm stomach, little B-cup titties, chocolate skin, you know what I mean? Big juicy lips. Nice, cute little bitch, you know what I mean? First blade I put her down on was Sepulveda. She seen Sunset. Sunset is what got her intrigued about the blade. Sepulveda is where I first put her down at. And her first date on Sepulveda was a $200 date. Never forget. You know what I mean? After that, it was on and cracking. Like she was, you know what I mean? She caught that first $200 date on the blade. You know what I mean? And it's for a hoe, it's the same as like with the pimping. You know what I mean? Like my first trap that I ever checked from a 304 was like $350. I'll never forget that. Or yeah, like $350. That was my first trap that I ever checked, man. And it wasn't all the money in the world. It wasn't no change of life money or anything, but just knowing that you pimped for it. Knowing that you gave this young lady some instructions. She went out, followed your instructions, came back and handed you the money. That's priceless. And once you understand that you can do that as the pimping, you just want to get better and better at it, and it just fires you up. You just want to keep on pimping. So on the same token, it's the same way for a 304. Now everybody don't have that same effect. Some guys, they first trap might have been 5,000 or 1,000 or 800 or whatever, And, it didn't hit them the same way. You know what I mean? Me, when I got that first trap, I was like, what? Yes, it's on. You know what I mean? I'm finna pimp. But this chick, it was the same way. She caught that first $200 date on Sepulveda, and he said right there by Valerio. Where did she catch that? I want to say she caught it on Sherman Way, like Sepulveda and Sherman Way, but close. That's right there by Valerio, that area for sure. You know what I mean? She was definitely in that area, and when she caught that first $200 date, man, it was on and popping from there. She just, turned her into a monster, and she was tearing Sepulveda up. Then I took her out there to Ontario to the truck stop. See, a lot of y'all ain't never pimped like this, man. So let me break it down. Sepulveda Prince know what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? And all my other California pimps, man, who was pimping in the mid to late 2000s and all that type of shit, man. Back when that Ontario truck stop was going on, man. Hey, we used to pull up on the side of the freeway. You know what I mean? And let the bitch out right there on the freeway, because there was a little hole in the gate where a bitch would creep in that hole to the gate and be inside the truck stop. You know what I mean? Bitch get up in there and get down on that truck stop, man. And man, that truck stop was a gold mine, man. I actually caught on to the truck stop kind of late. You know what I mean? But I had some partners that was fucking with that truck stop earlier than me, man, that was tearing that motherfucker up, man. Man, that truck stop in Ontario used to be the shit. But yeah, man. I say all that to say that's in a nutshell how I got that chick down. There was like I said, she was a full-time student at Texas A&M. So Sepulveda Prince, you already know, exit Milliken. You already know, man. You know what I mean? Right before you get off that exit ramp, you know what I mean? Pull over, let the bitch out. Let them hoes out, let them go through that motherfucking gate right there. And it's on. It's on and cracking. You dig? Normandy and Wilshire Internet Cafe, King Ross. Hey, man, I used to be, back then, man, I used to know where all the internet cafes was at. But that internet cafe on Sunset La Brea was just the shit, because you all you gotta do is hang out by that motherfucker. You know some hoes is finna come in there and post their ads. You know what I mean? Because see, this is what people don't, this, so let me just paint a picture for you, right? See, before we had these smartphones, back in like the 2000s, everybody had like, the fanciest shit you would have is like a BlackBerry. You know what I mean? And we had internet on our phones, but it wasn't as up to date and high tech as in user friendly and just seamless and smooth as it is right now. So a lot of shit that you can do on your phones now, you couldn't do on your phones back then. It's like getting on Craigslist, because these the Craigslist days. Getting on Craigslist, creating an ad in the adult section, putting pictures on the ad. You couldn't do all that shit on your phone. This is why they had internet cafes. That's why when these smartphones came around, the internet cafes disappeared, because it put them out of business. It made them obsolete, because all the shit that you could do at an internet cafe, now you could do it on your phone. You know what I mean? But, the internet cafes, a lot of them had computers with Photoshop on it. And Photoshop was there because it allowed you to, like, because sometimes the picture might be too big or the picture might be too small. And you can get right there on that same computer that you post in the ad and resize the picture and be able to, post the ad. You couldn't do all that shit on your phone back then. The phones that's out now, they wasn't what they are now back then. So you had to go to the internet cafe. So, if a bitch is working Craigslist, she's going to that internet cafe on Sunset and La Brea. And so pimping, we all, pimping gonna hang out at that motherfucker, man. Pimping hanging out at that motherfucking internet cafe, man. Not just that one, but like any internet cafe in an area where you know hoes, where it's a bunch of hotels that hoes working out of and shit like that, man. Yeah, we hanging out at the internet cafe, man. And we gonna knock some at the internet cafe, man. It's certain places that the pimp gonna hang out back then, man. We hanging out at the internet cafe. We hanging out at the motherfucking Greyhound station. You know what I mean? The LA Greyhound station was cool, but wasn't nothing better than that Las Vegas Greyhound station, man. That Las Vegas Greyhound station was the shit. You know what I mean? Pimpin' stayed knocking out that motherfucker. But we hanging out at the Greyhound station. We definitely hanging out at the swap meet. You know what I mean? Especially the Slauson. Because you know 304s is coming through the Slauson for sure. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, we used to, them internet cafes, Pimpin' was hanging out at them for sure. Northside Crazy T say, why Greyhound, man? Because hoes is constantly, see, this you gotta understand, like, at least back then, see, now it's a little different. Now it's crazy. Greyhound tickets is damn near the same price as plane tickets. It's crazy. It damn near costs to go the same distance, to go to the same place. The Greyhound ticket is damn near as expensive as the what's it called? The flight ticket, right? So the Greyhound station, you know, 304s is constantly coming and going. Oh yeah, Compton swap me too for sure, Supposed the Prince. But 304s is constantly getting on the Greyhound to go somewhere, and or they coming in town off the Greyhound. You know what I mean? And you know, you just gonna have action at the Greyhound. You know, 304s is constantly traveling that way because back then the Greyhound was way cheaper. You know, so a 304 might be trying to, you know, stack her money and, you know, save a little something. So, because that used to be a misconception, right? A lot of people would think that because a chick is on the Greyhound, that means she ain't got no money. But I done knocked chicks off the Greyhound with a bankroll, for real. Some chicks don't like to fly. Some chicks are scared of flying. They gonna catch the bus. You know what I mean? And then like, who was that? Was that Game Oriented that just said that? Yeah, like Game Oriented said to jail. See, in downtown LA, that Greyhound station that used to be there that's not there no more is down the street from the LA County Jail. So, and it's down the street from the train station. Now, the LA County Jail, that ain't where the bitches be at. But yeah, Pimpin' will hang out by the jail, like that Linwood Jail. You know, the train station is right down the street from the Linwood Jail. Sometimes Pimpin' will park and post up by that. What's that? Is that the Kenneth Hahn? Is that the Kenneth Hahn station? I can't remember what, but the station where the green line and the blue line meet. I think that's the Kenneth Hahn station. Pimpin' will post up over there because, you know, sometimes bitches will get out of jail and they'll end up right there, and they might catch the train from over there all the way downtown, and then, you know, go down to the Greyhound station from there and try to get somewhere. You know what I mean? But one way or another, 304s always end up at the Greyhound station. And then in Vegas, the Greyhound station is like a block and a half or 2 blocks from the jail. The old Greyhound, that Greyhound ain't there no more neither. But the old Greyhound station downtown Vegas, next to the Plaza Hotel and Casino, that Greyhound station, it used to be 2 blocks from the jail. So a lot of times when the bitch get out of jail, see, back then in Vegas, when a bitch get out of jail, she and her folks ain't there to pick her up, or she ain't got nobody come to pick her up, she going to one of 2 places. She going to the Greyhound station, or she going to the DTC, which the DTC stood for the Downtown Transit Center. That's the bus station downtown. You can catch a bus right there to any part of Vegas. All the buses end up at that station. So if you go to the DTC and you got to catch the bus, the city bus to any part of Vegas, you going to the DTC. Or if you got to catch the bus, you know, to somewhere else outside of Vegas, you're going to the Greyhound station. Both of them, the DTC and the Greyhound station, was close to the jail. So a lot of times when bitches get out of jail, they're gonna end up right there. So yeah, pimping gonna get action at the Greyhound station for sure, especially certain Greyhound stations. You dig? But yeah, man, that's the good old days, man. The good old days for sure. Eat books, good looking with the $5 holla. Dang freeze, spare the DJ. You seen Players Club? Jamie Foxx was broke and crying a bill for a raise. Hey, every strip club ain't like that, man. Some DJs be checking it in the strip club for real. You know what I mean? And then shit, if the DJ wanna break himself to the bitch, shit, I ain't sparing him. Fuck, I look like sparing him, man. Shit, he this what he want to do. I ain't put a gun to his head and tell him to get his bitch no money. The bitch ain't put a gun to his head and tell her to give her no money. Nah, we put some game to his head and told him to give up the money, and he happily obliged. You know what I mean? Had a good time doing it. You dig? Yeah, we put the game up to his head, not no gun. Yeah. Eat books, good looking with the $2 holla. Why some girls hate the blade though? Because they ain't never been, and then some bitches that have been, they ain't never had no success on the blade. They ain't never had no, good nights on the blade. And then some bitches is just lazy. It's a lot of reasons why bitches hate the blade. But a lot of bitches ain't never thrived on the blade. That's why they hate it. It's a combination of a lot of them have never thrived, and then a lot of them are lazy, and they feel entitled to other outlets, right? And see, it's crazy because a lot of them bitches that hate the blade, especially nowadays, that like playing, bars and casinos and the internet and all that type of shit. A lot of them bitches don't even make as much money as bitches on the blade be making. Now, it's some that's checking it now, but you got a lot of them that ain't even making the same type of money that a bitch will make on the blade. So, but a real one ain't gonna condemn any avenue of the game. A real one understands the value in all of them. You know what I mean? The blade, the carpet, the strip club, the internet. The real one, gonna get it in whatever way make the most sense. Waterson 10, good looking with the $10 holla. What do you think about girls getting customers worldwide initially through social media and OnlyFans compared to meeting them at first in more traditional ways? Well, it all depends, man. It all depends on what kind of game you got, man. But right now, the sky is the limit, man. Now, like I always say about OnlyFans, man, in order for OnlyFans to be maximized, you got to really know how to market and promote yourself and develop a fan base on the internet. Whether that's through YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. But once you develop a following, then you can direct the traffic from that following to your OnlyFans, right? It's just like people who have a YouTube channel and direct traffic to their Patreon, same type of way. But if you ain't got no following nowhere else, like if you don't have a YouTube following, an Instagram following, or a TikTok following, or a Facebook following, but you have a Patreon, ain't nobody gonna know about your Patreon if you don't have, an audience to direct traffic from that to. And OnlyFans works the same way. So, but if somebody has the game for that and are able to, do that, then they're gonna be all right. But what I will say, man, I just love a chick being down and around outside, man, because that's when a chick can utilize all of her superpowers and advantages on a trick. You know, because when a chick is on OnlyFans or on the internet, you know, her scent, her smell, her scent, her perfume is not gonna be available to the trick. Her physical presence, her physical aura is not gonna be available to the trick. You know, but when she down and around, you know, like I said, that good perfume, he gonna smell that and be intrigued. You know, he gonna be able to see her from head to toe. He gonna be able to see that she got some pretty ass feet and pretty ass hands. You know, pretty ass smile, nice body. You know, he gonna be able to feel that aura face to face much better. It's gonna be much more effective. So, yeah. And then traditionally, speaking of traditional ways, traditionally, man, the biggest licks done been hit outside though. You dig? Even still today, even though the internet been going on for a minute now, the biggest licks have been hit outside though. You dig? Oh, that was an unnecessary. Oh wait, no, it wasn't. Northside Crazy T, good looking with that $2 holla. I just met a lawyer that wants to see the blade. Hey man, ain't nothing wrong with showing it to them. They can go see it, you know, show their ass, you know what I mean? Take their ass on a field trip to the blade. They might want to litigate and mitigate some transactions with a trick though. You dig? Lojo says, do you have the video from Sinful? It's what the trick wants, not what my D needs. I don't know. I'd have to look for it. I'd have to go digging for it. I ain't no telling. Could be there. I'd have to go search for it though. Suppose the prince say man, the 304's places in the trick's face and not on his phone screen. Yeah, you know, you know, chick, you just wanna have the best chance possible. Put your best foot forward, man, and you gonna put your best foot forward face to face. You ain't gonna put your best foot forward like he said on the phone screen. So I say the old DTC. No side crazy T say I just caught a 403 at the DTC last night. Yeah, man. Heard the hell out of that. Suppose the prince say King Ross, hell yeah, I used to love El Cajon Boulevard. Yeah, man. See, I didn't really. I kind of like got a little small taste of El Cajon, man. But back when El Cajon was still going on, I wasn't really going to San Diego like that. I was in a whole bunch of other places, man. But shout out to El Cajon though, in that good old San Diego. Game oriented says best city you campaign in or that you get your fire up to pimp at. I'd have to say Vegas, man, because I just got so many good memories, man. And then, you know, that's where my formative years in the game was, man. Like, yeah, I'd have to say Vegas for sure. Even though Vegas ain't what it used to be, man, you know, in a lot of ways the thrill is gone in Vegas, man. But yeah, Vegas was that spot for me to get fired up. And, you know, like I said, I just got so many good memories in Vegas. Yep, Vegas is where it's at. I got some good memories in California too, though, man. I done definitely got fired up to Pimp in California too, you know. Eris D says, let's be real though, P. The blade is more dangerous. It's not that the blade is more dangerous. You know what the most dangerous thing is? Ignorance. Ignorance is the most dangerous thing. And see, you know, I don't like when people try to make it seem like the blade is more dangerous, because if you just pay attention, the most shit and the worst shit happens at them end calls. And the reason why the most shit and the worst shit happens at them end calls is because the end call is the most comfortable part of the game, right? And because it's so comfortable, it's attractive to a lot of ignorant people, a lot of people who don't have game. The most gameless part of the game that you can operate in is the internet. See, a bitch could be stupid, but you got to have at least a little bit of game to maneuver on the blade. You even got to have a little bit of game to maneuver in the strip club. You definitely got to have some game to maneuver on the carpet in the casinos and bars and resorts and all that type of shit, right? But the internet, you really don't have to have a lot of game to maneuver in that, at least to step into it. You know, of course, in all of these areas that I just named, you know, if you have some game, it can be beneficial and profitable for you, right? But as far as like the avenue of the game that's the easiest to get into and requires the least amount of game just to get in and, like, you know, operate, is the internet. You don't have to have no bunch of game to operate on the internet, right? So like I said, it's attractive to a lot of ignorant people. A lot of people who ain't got no game, a lot of bitches who think they don't need no pimp, you know, a lot of bitches that's, you know, tagging along behind their friend, you know, they friends show them how to post an ad and all that type of shit. You know, the internet is just attractive to a lot of ignorant people. So ignorance is the most dangerous thing. So, you know, it'd be a lot of bitches that they don't know how to screen tricks. They don't know how to make sure a trick is safe and somebody, you know, safe to deal with. And then too, even if they do, you know, you never really know who you dealing with until you get until you let that trick behind your door. If you work in an end call, once you let that trick come behind your door, that's when you really know what's going on, right? And sometimes that can be dangerous. So, you know what I mean? And then too, because see, look, right? Let's just think about how you initiate a date playing an end call. A trick calls you, texts you, whatever, call the broad, text the broad, and then they agree to meet. Then the broad tell him to pull up to the hotel. Then when he gets to the hotel, she might look out the window. She might be able to see him depending on where her room is at. She might not be able to see him. But she tells him her room number. He comes to her room. And then that's when she finally is able to, like, get a real feel for who this guy is, right? That can be very dangerous, especially for somebody with no game. Now, on the blade, on the other hand, when a trick pull up to a bitch, she's able to check his vibe. She's able to make eye contact with him and talk to him while she's looking him in the eye. She's able to look around his car and see what he got going on in his car, see what kind of car he got. You know what I mean? She's able to just get a vibe from his physical presence. You know, his tone of voice, his body language, you know, how well he take care of himself or not. You know, she's just able to, you know, utilize all of this stuff to make a decision on whether or not she gonna get in the car with this dude, right? On the internet, you have less to work with as far as making a good decision on who you gonna entertain, right? So to say that the blade is more dangerous, that you just sound like somebody is speaking theoretically, like somebody who don't really have experience in the game. Because if you have experience on the internet, experience on the blade, experience with every angle of the game, you know, I'm talking about real experience. Because some people, they done played the internet, they done played the strip club, they done played the carpet, but they only played a little bit of the blade, or they ain't played the blade at all. You know, it's always the people who ain't never really fucked with the blade for real that got the most to say about it. fuck is going on? Come on, man. The hell is this? Man, this is crazy. Hold on, man. Let me see what's going on with my camera. I don't know what the hell happened. Give me just a second. Yeah, I don't know what that was about, but we back at it. It's that cheap out of America internet. Nah, it wasn't even the internet. It was the phone, or I mean the camera itself that was tripping. I don't know what the issue was, but we back at it though. We good now. You did. Waterson 10, good looking with the $5 holla. Which city in the U.S. do you think the most money is being spent on tricking? That's a good question. The most money is being spent on tricking? I would probably have to say Los Angeles. I would probably have to say Los Angeles because, okay, Los Angeles ain't the biggest city in the United States. New York is, but Los Angeles has more tracks than any other city, right? Especially big cities, but just really any other city, period. Los Angeles has the most tracks in the United States. That's one. And I ain't even talking about the county of Los Angeles. I'm talking about within the Los Angeles city limits. See, what a lot of people don't understand, the Los Angeles city limits includes the San Fernando Valley, which is where Sepulveda is, Lancashire is, and various other blades that you can make into a blade or are official blades out there. And then you got Figueroa, Century Boulevard still be having a little bit of activity going on. And the list goes on and on. But basically, Los Angeles got more black. I ain't even talking about Western and Hollywood and all that shit, Sunset. Like, Los Angeles got the most blades, which means for somebody who wants to go outside and meet a woman to trick on, Los Angeles has the most abundance of that, right? At any given time, 24/7, you can go to a blade in Los Angeles and find a girl and trick on her, right? So there's that. Then on top of that, all over Los Angeles, bitches is playing the internet, whether it's in call, out call, or both. It's certain hotels and certain areas that's flooded with bitches doing in calls. It's a lot of bitches doing out calls as well. So there's that. And then, Los Angeles don't have the most strip clubs, but there's a good amount of strip clubs in Los Angeles where a trick could go do his thing at. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would have to say as far as the city where the most money is being spent on tricking, I would have to say Los Angeles. You know what I mean? Uh, Miami would probably be a close second. But Los Angeles is a much bigger city than Miami. That's why I had to give it to Los Angeles. But outside of Los Angeles, Miami will probably be a close second as far as the city where the most money is being spent on tricking. I'd say Los Angeles first, then probably Miami. Let's see if we could do a top five. Los Angeles first, and probably Miami, and then after Miami, even though it ain't what it used to be, I probably have to say Las Vegas. Las Vegas would probably be the third city where the most money is being spent on tricking. Uh, After Las Vegas, maybe New York. So we got Los Angeles, Miami, Las Vegas, New York. And after New York, I kind of want to say Dallas. Yeah, probably Dallas, number five. Las Vegas, Miami. No, wait. Los Angeles, Miami, Las Vegas, New York, Dallas. I probably have to say them cities where the most money is being spent on tricking. Because Dallas got all them strip clubs. Them bitches is busting it open in the strip clubs. Then you still got Harry Hines and Shady Trail and all that shit around it and all of that. You know what I mean? Then Dallas got a lot of internet shit going on. You know what I mean? So yeah. Yeah, I'd have to put Dallas at number five on that list. That was a good question, though. Eat Books, good looking with the $2 holla. How do you compare the massage spa to the blade? Uh, I mean, the massage parlor or spa, whatever you want to call it. You know, people know what's going on. They come there, they do their thing and shit like that. It's a reactive type situation, like where a bitch that's in there is kind of similar to an in call, even though the dynamic of it is different. But in essence, it's very similar to an in call because a bitch don't really have a lot of power or control over the volume of tricks that she sees or the quality of tricks that she sees or anything like that. She's got to sit back and wait for the tricks to come to her. As opposed to the blade, it's a more proactive situation. The bitch got a lot more power over. She got a lot more control over her destiny as far as, you know, how her trap is accumulated. You know, she got a lot more power. So yeah. Eat Books, good looking with the $5 holla. I know you said who haven't campaigned in Colombia, but from the vibe, how you compare the American trick to the tricks over there? It's legal there, so safer. Just because it's legal here in Colombia, I wouldn't necessarily say it's safer now. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people lose their life here who come here to trick. A lot of people. You know, so I wouldn't necessarily say it's safer just because it's legal. Now it can be safe depending on, you know, like I say all the time, man. See what it is a lot of dudes be coming down here blindly. They don't take the time to understand what they getting themselves into. They just think, oh, it's legal and it's a lot of beautiful women in Colombia, so you know, I'm gonna just come down there and do my thing, you know. And it's not that simple. you got to understand what you're getting yourself into. And a lot of dudes don't be understanding what they're getting themselves into, or they underestimate what they're getting themselves into, and they end up getting unalived. I heard just a few days ago some dude got found somewhere, and he had met a chick, and next thing you know, he unalived, right? So that shit happens a lot down here, man, and dudes just be ignorant. But if on the same token, that's why I say once again, it's another example of how ignorance is the most dangerous thing. It's not necessarily that Colombia is so dangerous, or the United States, or Figueroa, or Harry Hines, or 27th Avenue in Miami or Phoenix, both 27th Avenues. It's not that these places are just so dangerous. It's the ignorance that is dangerous. Because, you have dudes that'll come down here and they'll hear the stories like of people getting drugged, robbed, knocked out, unalived. All of the people will come down here and hear all these stories, right? But they'll be thinking to themselves like, oh, that ain't gonna happen to me. And they'll be the next motherfucker that it happened to, right? So for people that come down here to Colombia, it's very simple. Like Tinder, to me, I've heard different people on YouTube say that they date girls on Tinder and they don't have no problems. And then, a lot of these dudes that end up unalived somewhere be meeting girls off Tinder. So, but I would say just to be on the safe side, because that seems to be one of the ways that most of these dudes end up dead is through Tinder. If I was, I can't even say if I was one of these guys. To these guys that's coming down here to trick, it's probably best that you don't fuck with Tinder, right? Then beyond that, if you with a woman, whether you're at a bar or you're at your apartment or your hotel or something like that, I would say I wouldn't drink with her because I don't drink. So it's easy for me to say that. But if you do drink with a woman, it's just very simple. Don't leave your drink unattended with the bitch. This is how a lot of dudes end up drugged and knocked out and robbed and unalived and all that shit. They be leaving, they'll have a drink and they'll leave it right there and go to the restroom or the bathroom and leave the drink unattended with the broad, where she could just put anything in that motherfucker. And that's just stupid. That's just ignorant. This is what they do down here. This is their game. This is how they get down. Why would you leave your drink with a bitch? And these dudes just keep on doing that. They just keep doing it. Like, God damn, when y'all gonna wake up? You know what I mean? They just keep doing it. The shit keeps happening all the time. So, again, don't see no bitches off Tinder or Bumble or any of them damn dating apps. Don't leave no drink unattended with a broad. Or if you can stand it, if you can be that way, just don't drink with a chick, period. Don't drink nothing except for a bottle of water, and keep the bottle of water in your hand even when you go to the bathroom. Or if you're going to drink with a chick, take your drink to the bathroom with you. And don't take your eyes off the drink to where she could slip something in that motherfucker. Don't be like this. And you got your drink over here behind you and you looking the other way and she could sprinkle some shit up in that motherfucker real quick. No. Pay attention. This is your life. You only got one life. Once you up out of here, it's over with. You can't come back. So, and then another thing I would do, because see, this is what you got to understand, right? Like, you got dudes that come out here and they be having these MacBooks, Man, this is a $2,500 device. You know what somebody can do with this out here? This will change somebody's life out here. This damn device, this laptop, this MacBook, man. You know? Or, expensive phones and shit like that. Or expensive designer clothes and belts and watches and just all kind of expensive ass shit that people can't afford out here. If I was a guy and I was bringing a chick to my spot, I'm putting everything away. She's not going to be able to see no laptop, no expensive designer, nothing, like no watch. She's not about to be able to see none of that. You know what I mean? And this is what these dudes do, man. They bring a chick back to their spot. I done heard so many stories about, dudes getting robbed for their laptop and everything. That's just stupid. But see, me, I value my shit. I got a lot of shit on here that I ain't, not just the laptop itself, but things that I have on the laptop. I just got so much shit, all videos I done edited, and I just got a lot of shit on my laptop. I ain't trying to lose this motherfucker, man. So I don't see how dudes be doing that, how they make that mistake, man. But, I don't understand the mind of a trick neither, so hey, what do I know? I'm just a pimp. Waterson 10, good looking with the $2 holla. What about the DMV for tricking? Are you talking about as far as like where the most money is spent? I don't know if the DMV, if that's what you're talking about, I don't know if the DMV would be top 5, but it's definitely a lot of money being spent in the DMV as well on tricking. That's for sure. Even though I ain't been there in a long time, I know it is. I'm sure it ain't too much change as far as that go. Yes, sir. That good old Virginia. Even though I hate that motherfucker and I wish I could annex that motherfucker and blow it up. But it's a lot of money being spent on tricking in Virginia. That's for sure. DC, for sure. Maryland, for sure. I done checked it in all them places. And yeah, it's definitely it definitely goes on, man. That is for sure. We do know that. Doc Umar says, why not Tinder, P? Man, just go look at the news. Just look up, just put in Columbia Tinder date, man robbed or unalive. Just put them terms in, man, and you're going to see a whole bunch of shit pop up. You're going to see a whole bunch of situations where a dude met a chick on Tinder. Next thing you know, he get knocked out. He wake up 2-3 days later, all his shit is gone. His bank account wiped out. His laptop is gone. His watch is gone. His phones is gone. Everything is gone. His passport, everything gone. That shit happens so much out here. Right? That's why, like I said, I wouldn't try to meet no chick off Tinder. And then you really don't have to do the Tinder thing out here because the women are so they so approachable. They so feminine. They so submissive. They so ladylike. They not rude. You know what I mean? You really don't even need Tinder out here. You know what I mean? Right. They see me trolling. Say, that's exactly how a guy I know got robbed. Off Tinder. That's what I'm talking about. That's not Tinder's fault. That's a sucker shit that get any man killed. That's what I said though, Eris D. Back to the ignorance thing. I'm not blaming Tinder. I just know a lot of people is ignorant. You know what I mean? Because it keeps happening. You would think after so many times, people will wake up and be like, okay, if I do get on Tinder, I'm gonna do it like this. I'm gonna do it like that. But they just don't be smart. They just be, I guess they just be so damn horny. Like Sinful the P say, when a man's, manhood is alive, he brain dead, man. So I guess that's what it is, man. So. But man, we have been live for almost 4 hours. It's been a good live though. We've been chopping some good game throughout this whole time, man. But yeah, man, Pimp gonna go ahead and wrap this joint on up, man. Listen, man, it's 259 of y'all in here. I know everybody didn't wipe their feet off at the door when you stepped into a Pimp's domain. Do me a favor, man. Hit that like button. Wipe your feet off at the door on your way out. You know what I mean? Since you didn't do it on your way in. It'd be a beautiful thing to get them likes up to that 400. We already at 351, you dig? But yeah, man, we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing on up. I done ran out of love. I only got like a little tiny swig left. It started off full. Now it's empty, man. Put plenty of love in my body, man. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and wrap this joint on up. As always, the hell is that? Who the hell is that? That's crazy. But yeah, man, as always, I appreciate y'all for tuning in and tapping in with a pimp. I appreciate you for sharing this video. Northside say 10 more minutes. What you need 10 more minutes for, man? We already been live for 3 hours and 45. We've been live for 3:45, man. What you need 10 more minutes for, man? Unless you hurry up and say something that's going to change my mind, man. We're going to go ahead and wrap this thing on up, man. But like I said, I appreciate y'all for tuning in and tapping in with a pimp. I appreciate you for sharing this video. I appreciate you for all your comments, questions, input, jokes, feedback, all that good stuff. I appreciate you for subscribing. I appreciate you for hitting the bell when you subscribe. I appreciate all the super chats, the cash apps, the PayPals. I appreciate your support in every which way that you comes with it, man. Y'all already know who it is and what it is. Freeze is it. If you out in traffic moving around, please do so in a safe fashion. And of course, as always, long live the incomparable Sinful the P. We out with my little half a swig. I holla.